Good Wednesday evening, second week rather, of the first session of the winter 2025 season of the American Ricci Mahjong League. And Nathaniel here, joined by Eric to start off the new year with the first set of broadcast games for the season. Eric, I know it's going to be fantastic doing coverage with you of this A2 session. How you been doing?
I've been doing great. I gotta say, this year is off to a great start. I don't know what it is, but my past 6 to 8 games have been Rentai only. Maybe the luck is up for me, but who knows?
Excellent. And well, it's been a great start of the year for Aaron as well. As you said, only Rentai so far, the first two games of the season, up to plus 50.0. Good for fourth place in the division. Let's turn on the sound here. Boop.
And it looks like we're starting off with Ricky as our dealer. Dora is the Haku. And this hand kind of looked like it might have been a Kokushi hedge, but for now, just gonna play the West and stay orthodox.
Yeah, a ton of honor tiles to open up with, but he has some optimism perhaps of pairing up the Dora White Dragon.
Would be a fantastic hand if so, and is just going straight ahead here with the honors. And looking around the table, it looks like those other two white dragons are being held by Bianca and Kaz. Whoever can pair up theirs is going to feel great, but the rest are going to be scared for probably the rest of the round unless they drop them soon.
Yeah, we're getting to the point in the round where it's pretty close to the territory where it's just hard to hold on to the Dora. And yeah, Ricky will get rid of it here. We'll see if it gets
Bianca has an
followed.
interesting choice. Yeah, goes for the Tuso for now to delay it. Because Bianca's hand, has the potential to be, Tanya could possibly be a Pinfu. You would usually lose the Tanya in that case. Um, but it's not a huge scoring hand, and it pays off. Unfortunately for Kaz, though, that Haku is now a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, maybe on the other hand, though, Kaz doesn't technically have a pair at this moment. Of course, the 6-mon triplet could slim down to be a pair, but he might
Ooh,
be
this is a
thinking
good...
about using the dragon as a pair in the hand as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it comes out here, 4-6-6-6 mon, just too good to pass up, but there is the Ishan 10, Ryanmen. And Bianca is, of course, already Tenpai in 3-6, so still 4 left in the wall.
Yeah, you can see Kaz doesn't believe that's a call into Tenpai yet. Willing to cut the 8-pin first instead of the 9-pin. And a bit fortunate that Bianca isn't waiting in that area. 3-6-0 instead has 4 tiles in the wall.
So, Aaron had the choice to Ricci there on the once cut 7 mon, but it's a Ricci Nomi on a bad weight. So for now, just Damas would have been an Ipatsumo, but
Well,
there we go. 300, 500 to neutralize the threat.
yeah, I can't blame for that decision. There's an open manga on the board. Your weight's pretty terrible. You really don't want to be fighting against this. And I think, Aaron isn't going to be too sad to have missed out on the Ipatsumo. They're just very happy to have shut down the Mangan without dealing in.
Well, here we go. East 2. Dealer is Bianca, Dora is the north, and we have a bit of deja vu from the previous hand. We start off with a Haku pawn, this time not Dora 3, perhaps aiming to hedge Chanta.
Yeah, seems like it'll be a low-scoring hand regardless, unless the East gets paired up in time for the last one to come out.
Ooh, slight backfire there on the 1 pin, but not a huge loss. Looking around the table, it looks like Kaz has the fastest hand, though. Already Ishan 10 would be a Richinomi for now, but there are some shifts to 5-6-7 or 6-7-8 Sanshoku, depending on the draws.
Next,
And no luck for Bianca.
1、
looking set for
8、
Kaz with an early Ricci.
It's a Richi only, but it's on a Suji trapped weight. Unfortunately, it is Richi Suji, and it is once dropped. I gotta say, I always feel like whenever my Richi towel is cheated away and it happens to be part of a trap, that I never manage to win.
Yeah, it does hold true that people forget about that city trap when it's in a call. I have been known to forget about it myself.
So we saw that 6-pin chi across the way in Aaron's hand, possibly just to break Ipatsu, but there is the backdoor Hatsu, and there's also 9 mon, and then the 9-pin Anko drop now that the 9-pin has passed. So there's safety baked into that hand should it go south.
Yeah, but I think Aaron's gonna push now that a couple of Dora have come out. Oh, it was the nine
Yeah.
pin. You know, in the
Decides,
past, I've watched a lot of games with Aaron. He tends to be fairly aggressive with his Tenpai hands, but in this case, perhaps making an adjustment um, here in A2 to just play a little more solidly, or defensively, rather.
agreed. That being said, I think that Formon passing now might give him the means to get back into Tenpai, but it's going to be a little bit tough to avoid the Furiton.
Yeah, would you call the 9 pin back and jam the 7 mon?
Ooh, that's tricky. I personally feel that the hand doesn't have enough value to really be fighting too hard, but if I manage to draw back into Tenpai naturally, or it's towards the end of the round, I'd be happy with that. But there we go, 3-pin comes out. It's going to be a Ricci and no Ura for 1300.
Yeah, fortunately, the 6 pins ended up coming out again, so Suji was visible on the board. And Kaz will get
And
the
we move it.
dealership.
Yeah, East 3, and I don't know about you, but this is screaming Chanta to me.
Oh, absolutely. If we could, that 9 pin helps actually a lot. It's gonna hold the
Oh,
efficiency
maybe.
of the 6 pin, but I wonder if we can even move in the direction of Junchan.
Well, yeah, the 6-pin is a valid hold because getting a 5-pin here gives us a Ricci Pinfu, but now I might decide to cut the 6-pin because getting the double East for a Shampoo is really great here, and then the 9-pin gives us Junchan Sanshoku. I don't really want to draw around the 6-pin anymore, and
Right?
in the cases of drawing an upper tile, I'm just gonna, take a weight like this instead. And there we go, Tenpai for Junchan, and gets the deal in right as we see Aaron reach Tenpai on the right. So that's going to be 2900. The Ricci stick is saved.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you like immediately aiming for the 2900 or maybe waiting a little longer for the upgrades. It turns
I
out
think,
that Kaz kind of needed that because the deal intel, or there's a Ricci that followed immediately.
yeah, that ended up being lucky there. I personally probably would not have taken that call because I see the possibility for a Hanemon instead of 2900. So I'd wait until maybe the second row before I decide to make a call like that. But in this case, it worked out nicely.
Yeah, Junchan, Sanchoku, and who knows what happens with the Ricci as well. So even the 7 pin draw, you're not likely to take the Pinfu and more likely to take the Junchan Sanchoku for the mega value.
Exactly. Well, here we go in East 3. Dora is the North again. And Kaz's hand looks like it's going to be a Ricci at the moment, not quite as fast as the previous one. Over on the right, we could see a Honitsu hedge, though, and possible Shosangen.
Yeah, unfortunately for Aaron, Bianca's holding the pair of the Hakus, so Daisung is not really possible unless somehow Bianca folds away from that pair, but in this case, Shosung is still alive.
And across the way, we have a quickly developing Tanya from Ricky. Does have one awkward chip, decides not to call it. That Kanchan 3-so might have been good to call if you don't expect yourself to build much value there, but deciding to say Menzen for now.
Another North door is a little bit awkward for most players to handle, and you can see even the North player, Bianca, already giving that up.
Yeah, Bianca's choosing to float the 6 blocks here so that she can accept the Kanchan 5-pin, but that's probably going to go now.
Ooh,
And, oh,
chance for
yeah,
Aaron.
that's
He draws the
interesting.
Haku right now.
I was going to say, um, you know, personally, I like cutting 6-pin there or 4-pin
Mm.
and then going for the Shampoo weight because if I end up on the Kanchan, I get a Ricci only. Um, but, this does give you a chance at Pinfu if you draw the 5 first.
It does, and you do get some upgrades here. In this case, though, even if you'd cut the 4 pin first, you still get the upgrade of the 7 pin. You can choose to cut the White Dragon pair later. And the upgrade of that the 4 pin gives you, which is the 3 pin, really doesn't help as much because you're 50 on the 2 pin already. So maybe starting with the 4 pin and cutting out the Haku pair later would still give you both options.
Yep. And we have a question from WWYD in the chat. Is this a live game going on right now? Yes, it is. It is at a roughly 5-minute delay, but it is happening live.
That's right. Players can't tune into the broadcast and get information about the opponent's hands, but it is happening as live as we can make it. Aaron's Honitsu getting there closed. Tempai closed.
Wow, Kantumon for Honitsu Itsuchun, Hanemon.
I could just sit on this Dama.
Unfortunately, there's only one left in the wall, and the players that have them don't look likely to drop them. However, against this Ricci, if Kaz runs out of safe tiles, I could potentially see the Tumon coming out.
Oh, you just have
Aaron
to throw
has
this.
to push. I think this is a Ricci or not Ricci situation, though. And the Dama, unfortunately, ends to a Ricci Patsu, or a 0 for 2600. Would you Ricci that hand?
I don't think I would. We already have enough value, and like you said, the Tumon doesn't look that bad against Bianca's Ricci, so I kind of want to target the Tumon, and maybe if I get a weight improvement to some ridiculous three-sided weight, then I might consider slamming a Ricci just to aim for the win rate against Bianca's hand, but in that situation, I prefer the Dama. What about you?
I agree entirely. I think because there's that chance that someone drops the Sotogawa Tal, the 2-mon to the early 3-mon that Bianca discarded, that it's worth Dama there. And like you said, it's already plenty of value.
And as you noted, Aaron spent a little bit of time thinking about that decision, but was not really thinking about whether the Forza was pushable or not, but rather whether to reach your Dama. And we both agree with his choice. Fortunately, the Forza did deal in, but when you're in that position, it's what I call the good deal in, right? You made what's probably the correct choice, even though it had a negative outcome. It's a choice that you want to keep making in the future. In the long run, it should net you more points than it loses you.
Exactly. This kind of stuff happens in any game that requires you to get lucky. You see it in poker all the time. The player with the better hand bets, and then the river cards, kind of just do them in. However, it looks like Aaron has a pretty good hand brewing to possibly make up those points. Potential double tone, potential Itsu over here, and it's already Ishanten.
Yeah, it's like the hand from the previous go around is back, except without all the dragons. Speaking of dragons, though, White Dragon once again is the Dora tile, and Ricky holding a pair on the right.
Yeah, Ricky's hand has developed quite nicely now. Lots of middle tiles to improve the shapes with, not feeling too much pressure since they see the door already. But here's the Tempai. Is this going to be a Ricci? Absolutely. So Ricci double tone, possible Itsu. And yes, WWYD, you're entirely right. We do have to update the bottom banner at some point. Unfortunately, we had a slightly delayed start to our stream today, but we will get on that when we have a second.
Yeah,
wow.
I modified some of it, but not all of it just yet. So we'll get that fixed. Thank you for pointing that out, though.
Dora 3. Already Tempai on the 6th
Oh
round.
my
One
goodness!
comes out. Oh man, no breaks. And with the Sanchoka, that's going to be a Hanuman.
Another spot where as Aaron, you can't do anything. But Ricky with the Hanuman getting the Sanchoku on top of things is just the cherry on top.
Well, just like that, we're in South 1. It has been not 15 minutes or so.
This game has been going very quickly, but the hands have been kind of crazy.
Yeah, some nasty combos. Even the ones that didn't win have been quite large. And we see Ricky open up here fast, looking for perhaps a smaller hand to start things off. Yeah, there is a potential shift towards Honitsu, but it's 5 Shanten, so I don't think that'll happen.
It would take a very strong set of draws to get there, but we're already one away from Tempai, so just take the repeat.
Yeah, speed is all you need here. And you know what? You figure that the door is probably hard enough for other people to use that it's not worth worrying about until someone pawns it. So this seems like a fine approach to me. That being said, sometimes it is the slower hands that speed up faster than those that call. A string of good draws gets you to Tenpai. And we see a Kanchan 7-pin over on the left. Unfortunately, it is dead, and it is a Ricci only, but Aaron decides to jam it regardless. I wonder if there is any thought about breaking Tenpai there to possibly go for Pinfu by keeping the 5-so.
This early in the hand, I typically will break the Tempai and try to just say I can do better. I can do better than a Richi no Mi on an awkward weight. Especially with that central 5-so, you can draw some tiles to improve. But then again, a lot of people advocate for just applying the early pressure to the table. Now, Bianca chasing with a Sumokini Richi was Tempai the turn before, and decided after waiting a turn that, yeah, I will take this Ricci chase.
So we have two dead Ricci Nomis. Oh, and the Hatsudra from Ricky is going to cause some folding to happen here. Chun only as dealer on a Shampon versus two Richis after drawing the door. That's tough, but if only Ricky knew that both Richis were basically dead.
Yeah, at the same time, this is a bit of an opportunity for Ricky. Should he draw another Hatsu, the Green Dragon pair, I'm sure would encourage him to fight all of a sudden.
Oh, for sure. So this 2-pin does have a chance of coming out since it's Suji to both Richis and safe to the dealer. There we go. Kaz deals into Bianca's Ricci only. No Ura, 1300, but Bianca also picks up that Ricci stick. So it is a pretty close fight for first place among the top three. Of course, Ricky has the advantage, and Aaron is going to have to fight hard to make his way back into this game, but does have one more dealership.
Yeah, it's always an awkward spot when you're the only player below 30,000. Of course, for players who aren't familiar with the floating UMA that this league has, if you are the only player above 30,000 at the end of the game, you earn not just the 15 points for being first, but a full 5 points extra as a bonus for being the only player floating above starting value. And similarly, if you're the only player below, you lose 15 points for being the fourth place player, and you lose an extra 5 points of standings points for being the only player below starting value. So it's tough when you find yourself in that position, but as you noted, Aaron has a lot of rounds to play for, still only South 2, and a dealership remaining, so he can drag somebody else below 30,000 with him, even if he doesn't escape fourth place. And, you know, when you've got a dealership, there's always a chance you go on a huge run to make up those points in a flurry.
Over here, Bianca's hand is quite nice. You see the outline of a Sanshoku, you have Dora Acceptance, but unfortunately two players have the ability to pawn Yakuhai, and over on the left we have Ricky, who has a very fast-looking Tanyao hand, already Ishanten. I have a feeling we might not see another Renchon here, especially since Ricky has incentive to pawn and end on the good weight.
Yeah, being in the lead here, probably not going to be too sad to just win 1,000 points to move the dealership forward.
We saw a nice Dora draw there for Aaron a second ago. Puts them in Ishanten. Do we see the Khan?
Oh,
We
absolutely.
do. New Dora is the 1-pin. It's almost inconsequential because 2 are out, and Bianca's is harder and harder to use with 2 of the 2-pin gone already.
Yeah, Bianca might be thinking about shifting up to a 789 Sanchoku. Depending on what her pair may be, she may not be able to use the 5-pin. In the world where
Yeah.
you get, oh yeah, the 3-pin cut basically confirmed
Ooh.
it's very likely that the 5-pin will be coming out in the future, especially because all the 6-pins
Yeah.
are gone.
Yeah, that 6-pin con actually did wonders for Ricky's weight. Normally, you wouldn't be too enthusiastic about a 5-pin, 7-pin, um, Shampon, but over here it's actually fantastic. And we also note that Ricky did something interesting here by sliding the 5-mon into the hand and making 2-mon the discarded tile. It draws away attention from the last Tadashi of the hand, which was the 8-pin. So perhaps people aren't even expecting the 7-pin to deal in.
Interesting choice here for Aaron to go to 3 pairs or not, and just sticks with the 2 pairs that he currently has. Could also have cut the White Dragon pair if he felt like the last one was going to be hard to find and switched to Tanya instead. But perhaps with a 5-mon discarded once already, wasn't really locked into that concept either.
Oh, and I think we're going to see a 5 pin potentially come out here. Oh, decides to break the 1-3 mon to keep that 5 pin held.
Yeah, I wonder if Bianca has some sense that it's dangerous here. It looks pretty safe to my eye, but somehow she's managed to dodge this
Bianca,
for quite a while.
so the worry about the 5 pin is probably the chance that it deals into a round man with the Dora.
Mm-hmm.
If it was the 7 pin, I wouldn't really understand kind of like breaking the hand and working around it like this, but the 5 pin I can definitely understand the sentiment behind.
However, the
Will we
two,
end up on a
well, I was gonna say the two open
the
players
2
have
has
both
passed, yeah.
discarded the 2 pin, so it really shouldn't deal into either of those players unless it's a shampoo.
Yeah, or like a 4-6 pin shape that cut from a Ryokan, but in the case of Kaz on the right, the 3 pin was cut too, and you would have thought that if you have, a 4 pin, you'd keep the 3 pin.
Yeah, and now, of course, the 5 pin is a bit of a concern to Aaron as well. Yeah, Bianca's still holding this, just does not like this cut. Oh, and it looks like Aaron's gonna steal the win away.
Wrong.
Bianca will not
Indeed.
lose any points this round. Well played.
And that'll be 2,600 because of the Fu for the Khan. Unfortunately, Aaron did have to open there to take the last Haku, but, anything matters.
We also saw a little bit of delay on the Roan, made me thinking maybe I'll get more points just for being temp there in the round, but with Ricky also open, that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
So just took the
I
points.
There was an interesting situation in a game I played not too long ago where a player was in Ricci and passed a Ron to go for Tenpai at the end. And this was very early on in the game because it was a Ricci only. And they said, well, I can get 3,000 points if I am Tenpai at the end. And, I didn't buy that argument too much, but there are definitely some interesting cases towards the end of a game where you might pass a win like that, aiming to target a certain player or because the hand just doesn't have enough impact.
It sounds to me that that player, just like me, never hits Uda.
Could be the case.
More optimistic players would just take the win, hoping for Uda too, or 5,200 points.
All right. Well, Kaz's hand is not off to a fantastic start here. No Dora, kind of one decent shape in 3 pairs. Could go into a potential Chi toy, but I don't have high hopes. We're already approaching row 2. This 3-pin draw does help, though.
Aaron's draw on the right. Also, 2 completed shapes in the Pinzu, but having dropped a full 7, 8, 9 after with another one set in hand is a little unfortunate. You make the first cut, and then all the ones that follow are just very natural. It's just been actually on the Tsumokiri train since the very first cut, so the hand just hasn't improved at all. On the other hand, Ricky's across the table looks fantastic.
And Bianca is Tenpai now, had a really wide headless Ishanten with an Anko, and is now on a 2-5 pin wait for Ricci Pinfu.
Oh wow, Kaz got
Chased
there.
immediately.
West is not that bad of a wait when you're the first to reach you, but when you're chasing somebody else, you get a little bit nervous.
I don't always hate this, though. I feel like against 2 Richis, when it's harder to find Genbutsu, stuff like a once dropped or not even dropped West does come out more often, especially since neither player needs the West as Yakuhai. And in this case, it seems like their weights are actually pretty even. Actually, I think Kaz has a slight advantage there, but the 5-pin gets ripped from the wall.
That will make things
No
very
Ura,
close
so
to a score
700.
situation. Yeah, I think it was right 3-2 in favor of Kaz in terms of tiles in the wall, but Bianca finds hers first, and that means going into all last, we've got Air in the dealer seat with a lot of work to do, but he's in the right seat to pull it together. Ricky has just barely a 1,000 edge point lead over Bianca. It looks like we've frozen a little bit. I wonder if swapping players will allow the game to progress. There we go. And Kaz is over 30,000. He would like to stay there for the a positive third place finish, but with a mug on Sybil can overtake for first.
Yeah, Kaz's hand really seems like the type where if you get 2 or 3 good draws, you aim for the Mongon, and if you don't, then you just start calling to secure your placement above 30k.
He's got a door in the hand.
It's...
Any hand that has got a door has a chance of being a Mongon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just depends on how many of your bad shapes fill. In particular, the choke point of that hand is going to be 3 mon, and then whether you get the 9 pin or not for Tanyao. Aaron's hand could pick up some speed here. Decides to forego the chance at Itsu to keep the 1, so... It's going to be a Ricci regardless. I guess if you do manage to pick up the Itsu, you have some calling options if you're getting word towards the end of the round. But I think there's enough floaters here that you're happy enough going for the Pinfu, possibly picking up the 4-5-6 Sanshoku with the Dora. Oh, Ricky is Tenpai. Calls Ricci even though all they need to do is win a Pinfu only to get first place. This could end up biting Ricky.
Oh,
but unfortunately...
Yeah, Bianca drew a nice tile and says, you know what, I'm gonna challenge this. One Mon isn't that bad, but in this case, it does deal into the Mongon, and that is actually going to drop Bianca out of second place and into the negative finish below 30,000 points. So Ricky, a nice Mongon hand to solidify that first place finish, ends here with a plus 32.2. And Kaz, by sitting there and not getting a chance to draw after the Ricci, gets his plus 5.3. Great fight by Bianca. It does end with a minus 5.7 finish, but that's not so bad. And Aaron had a bit of misfortune in this game. That wasn't really his fault.
Yeah, a lot of that was, like we said, you have a good hand, you fight with it, you deal in. You have a good weight, you fight with it, you deal in. You know, not much that Aaron could have done there to avoid the big hits, unfortunately. Seemed like textbook plays. So better luck next game. I need some water.
Very good. Well, I think we will have a small moment before the next game begins. Let me go ahead and check the start time for that. We've got, oh man, a million games popping up, and the next game starting in 16 seconds. So that gives us a little bit of time to check the the overall standings for the league. You can see Will off to a great start in the A2 division. I was watching some of those games.
89.2.
Just could not miss. Over and over.
I say
and
the
over
win
again.
rate is quite high, 31%, and you know it's only 4 games, but that's still really good. And it looks like the deal-in rate is 13%, so maybe slightly higher than you'd normally like, but with a win rate like 31%, you really don't care.
Yeah, and of course, these are the stats for only 4 games that have been played, so the numbers are going to be a little bit wonky to begin with. You're going to see some ridiculous win averages here from a couple of these players. Also very exciting to see a player missing any amount of deal-ins, just emptiness, because he hasn't dealt in yet. Let's see if he can keep that up the whole season.
And we've returned to game 2. Same players as before. Kaz is the dealer in East 1, and Dora is the 7-mon. Oh man, I looked over to the right and I was like, oh, is it Ryuiso? And no, there's already a Hakupon.
Not quite, but maybe Hakudor won.
Oh.
It's maybe a little
Do
too
you see the
early for a con.
Yeah. I think theoretically you could take this, but I really hate it because the weights are so bad.
Yeah, I think if I had even one Diamond shape, I would consider it, but... Well, takes it now, improves to a Diamond shape, and pulls a Dora out of that, so I guess that worked.
Quite nicely.
I guess maybe yet to be determined. We'll see if anyone gets the Slamorichi here.
This could be particularly good for Ricky across the way who's going for Chitoy and does have a 2-mon in hand.
Chitoy, famously the
Boom.
shortcut to Hanuman, but with a Khan, could be the shortcut to Baimon.
Aaron says the shortcut to winning is to pawn, and is probably right over here. Ishan 10 for Tanya Dora 2. And there we go, Tempai on the right. Haku Dora 2, and there's some nice food there. You get 16 from that con, plus 2 for the Penchon. So that's going to go up to 40 fu.
Ricky, drawing the 1 pin, has some considerations of building this hand naturally. Goes hand because the 4-mon, but against the speed, we're probably aiming for Chitoy.
Dong.
Yeah, the speed is too much. Aaron will get there with the Tanya Dora too.
And we move into East 2. Dealer is Bianca. Dora is the 3-mon. It looks like Bianca already has a great Sanmen-chan in Manzu. Already 2-shan 10 with great sticky tiles. This could be a fast repeat.
It just needs to stick something to the 2-so or the 7-so, and you've got an amazing Ishantan going away from Tempai in that world.
Looking around. Sorry, I'll let you say what you want to say first.
Oh, I was just gonna also look around at the hands, and I was looking at Ricky's hand as well, pretty close to Tempai. In fact, 2 away from Tempai already as well, with maybe even better shapes than Bianca has, although now she draws the 3-so.
Yeah, Aaron's hand is actually quite good as well. You see that textbook shape, 1, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, where you shouldn't drop the 1-so because it lets you accept the 2-so.
It's so easy to just cut away the 1-so in this spot. But if you
And
if you move the 4, 5, 6 as a completed shape to a different spot in the hand, you reveal the 1, 3, 5 that's left behind. And that demonstrates
exactly.
the acceptance of the 2-so.
And sometimes you do end up cutting that 1-so though. Going into row 2, if you draw a good safety in your Ishanten, you might cut the 1-so because it guarantees the Tanyao and you don't lose too much on a 2-so backfire. You can even take the Furry 10 3-sided weight if you like.
Yeah, and so we'll wait and see when Aaron chooses to pull the trigger on the 1-so cut. However, Bianca has improved these shapes into a Tanyao, and it almost has the appearance of 2-3-4 Sanchoku, but just misses out because it's lacking a different pair. If you draw something like the 5-mon or the 6-mon, would you give up the Salman-chan in the hopes of potentially winning with Sanchoku?
Ooh, that one's hard to say. I think at the moment there's 2 1/4-mons out. There's one in our hand, and I don't entirely mind, especially if we get the 3-mon or the 6-mon dropping from that shape. I mean, obviously now we're just going to take the Richi, but especially if you get the 6-mon, I don't mind dropping it because you can always slide an extra 3-mon in and aim for a higher value hand. So Aaron has that 1-so left over. Deals in Ipatsu. It passed twice in the past 2 turns, and unfortunately does not pass now.
That's going to make a Mongon for Bianca. And yeah, you were talking about maybe switching off of that to a safe tile in the future. I don't know that Aaron necessarily had that opportunity, but a good demonstration of, the second row. Sometimes you do end up making the Sakigiri play. In this case, Bianca got rewarded for someone having held on to that. It was actually looking really scary for her because the 1-so, the tile that you expect to come out for the win, got cut twice before she found Tempai. It's like, couldn't you have waited one more turn before choosing to cut that pair away?
Yeah. For Aaron, it was really difficult over there because going into row 2, unless he wanted to get rid of that 1-so right away, he didn't have any safety. But upon drawing another safe tile, I bet you he would have cut the 1-so because then there is a 5, 6, 7 Sanshoku chance baked into the hand.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Has had some unfortunate times so far this game, but start off the game with the 3900. So that helps mitigate some of the losses of the 12K, and of course, still, again, has 2 dealerships remaining in this game. This hand actually looks really nice for him to make that 1 away from Tempai, although really I think about this as 2 away still, because I would not accept, an early 6-pin draw into Slam Richi on 8-so.
Yeah, if I get a 6-pin, I am shifting towards Tanyao and Sanshoku.
9-so
or
is the
potential
Dora.
Dora too. Yeah. it's a little tough now because there's 2 8-sos gone and there's 1 9-so discarded, so I have less incentive to keep that Kanchan around even though it is the Dora.
Mm-hmm.
But it really depends on what I would draw. Over on the left, though, decent Ishanten, not the worst. You can pawn it to Tenpai for a Tanyao only. I guess you're hoping to draw the 6-mon for the Ipeko, but whether you reach or not is another question. Decides to call. Unfortunately, it is a dead weight at the moment.
Oh,
Let's see Aaron discard it soon, though.
yeah, maybe do we just give up on the door here?
This is the same kind of shape. Oh, actually, it's slightly different. This is not a shape that you normally want to keep the 9-so in, unlike the previous one where you do want to keep the 1-so. But in this case, it is Dora.
Each.
Oh, it just comes out.
Dong.
As will.
At least it's cheap.
Yeah, snipe 1000 plus the home buff. We shift into East 3. And by the way, we got a comment. I am in C1. How could I get my game broadcasted by the league? Well, first of all, welcome to the league. And we would love to broadcast your game. Typically, we have Wednesday night broadcasts as our regular day to schedule. So you can increase your chance of having your game broadcasted by scheduling a game to be played on Wednesday evening. And if you would like to have your game broadcasted so that you could look back at it and see the commentary analysis, you can also send us a message. If you send me a message in the Discord, I can try to find a day where you're running with your games and schedule and broadcast those specifically for you.
Is that the new strategy? If your game's on a Tuesday, wait one day.
We used to have every now and then a Tuesday broadcast, but the person who was doing the broadcasting on that day got busy, and so we didn't have those as many or as frequently, I should say.
Oh, returning to the game at hand, it looks like Ricky's hand is not too terrible. Has that once cut East Dora. But unless that pairs up, it's looking like a cheap hand. Over on the right, we have a 1 away. Ideally looking to draw the once cut 8-pin for a 369 mon pinfu weight.
Ooh. The 9-so is not the way we wanted to fill that so shape. The 7-so would have been an amazing draw, but now that we've cut the 9-so, the 7-so loses some of its utility.
Yeah.
That's the improvement you're looking for.
That's fantastic.
And now
if you draw the 7-so, you're not even Furryton.
Exactly. Because having drawn that 2-so to touch 3-so now shifts in the direction of more of a normal Ricci, rather than thinking about a pair's hand, and has the opportunity to upgrade, like one of these pairs into another sequence shape. So, sitting here with a perfect Ishantan, 1 away.
And it's even better for these players to have the perfect Ishantan here now because they see the Dora has been diffused, so holding on to that extra tile for efficiency doesn't feel as worrisome.
Yeah, that's particularly relevant in the East round when the East is Dora because it's can be usable by any player. But they're sitting there on the table. Ricci, Pinfu, 5-8 mon, an immediate chase.
1 5-8 mon left in the wall, unfortunately. Ricky perhaps thinking about whether to cheat to break Patsu. Cuts the 9 mon. We all know what's coming out next if Tenpai is reached.
4-7 mon for Bianca. Slightly more expensive hands, so Ricky would do well to deal into Kaz instead.
Ricci Pinfu. Aaron's going to deal in over there. Didn't get a good look at the hand, but it looked like a shape was broken to drop that 5 mon. So perhaps a raid on safety.
Yeah, certainly it was Genbutsu to Bianca, so playing safe to the Chase Ricci, and certainly playing safe to the more expensive Ricci. In this case, it did turn out to be. So Aaron, with the dealership now in East 4, is very happy, I'm sure, to have drawn that White Dragon.
Yeah, cuts away early from the 4-pin, looking to pair up even more Yakuhai. A very greedy play there, but when you're this far behind, it's not the worst. If you get the Chun, you're laughing. It's going to become an instant Mongon.
Yeah, past the first South was not willing to open up the hand just yet, And now seeing the second one, you have to make your decision there and then. And I think Aaron's plan is to use this door at all costs, so doesn't mind calling away one of the pairs in the hand, because ultimately the final pair is intended to be the red dragon.
Boom.
I wonder if we even see a Honitsu shift if something's drawn around the 5-mon.
Certainly he's been playing this hand as if to move in that direction. Some hesitancy to cut that east. Didn't really want to lose the half flush potential.
Yeah, this is tough because your shape in Pinzu is really good, and if you plan to be on a Tonki, you want to complete the other shapes fast. So perhaps deciding this late in the hand that Honitsu is too far away to shift to, or at the very least that the ones cut east is a fine sacrifice.
That's right, and there's still the value of White Dragon door 2. Depending on how you win that, you could even get bonus foo as well to make it 7,800 points rather than the normal 5,800.
But Bianca is also fiending for that tune over there, has been keeping it over potential sticky tiles like the 5-pin for a little while now. That hand can stick anything to the 4-mon and get Tanyao, but it's a little bit tough when you already have 2 of the 2-mon.
Yeah, the problem scenario for Bianca is that Aaron gets to tap. Oh, well, she has her choice now. Dora Tonki or wait on the 3-mon, 4-mon.
Dama Dora Tonki.
Oh, that's exciting. Is that hoping for Suanko in the future?
Let's see, 3-4 so is unfortunately completely dead from our perspective. Bianca can see there's one more 4-so left, but that is in Kaz's hand. Do we see a Tsumogiri Richi?
Okay.
Yes, we do. I don't think they'll make it more likely to come out, but there is one left on the wall. Did she time it right?
She will break the Ipatsu and just advance Aaron one step closer. He's fighting here, but he's probably not dropping the Dora, so should be safe in this instance. I'm still a little suspicious. There's no So tiles in that discard.
You are going to have to drop it at Tempai, though. 4-mon is one of Bianca's safe tiles.
Yeah.
Gets confirmed as safe again. Does Ricky drop it? Starts with the 1.
Aaron is really hoping that Ricky will drop it because it's safe, and then he can wait on the door itself. But Ricky's holding strong here. Even though it's safe to both players at the moment. Just not giving Aaron a chance to improve.
Yeah, Ricky is very actively, keeping the dealer from calling anymore. Which definitely is a consideration. I don't know if I'd worry as much when they're already at 3 calls, but yeah, definitely being cautious here. It's interesting.
Oh, the 4 finally comes out just as the 3 became safe. Oh, but the dragon! The
What?
red dragon discarded. Worry about the Tremon. And that's going to cost 6,400.
Turns out the last one was hiding as the Uradora.
Oh, I see.
Oh, ouch. Well, still one more dealership, but dang, I feel like if I'm going to fight with 4 calls there, I'm going to go all out.
Yeah, I wonder, you know how sometimes you make a call and then the tiles like shift in your hand and where you click is no longer where the tile you thought you were clicking? I wonder if it's possible at all that the mouse just didn't travel far enough to the left and accidentally hit the tune that slid into position after the call.
Could be the case. I can't say I have much experience calling to Hadaka Tonki online, so I could definitely see that happening to me.
Yeah, I can say personally that's happened to me on multiple occasions. Usually not on Tenho, but it is definitely a possibility. At any rate, though.
We enter South Round.
Yeah,
Yeah, another Hakudora.
We've seen that so much tonight.
Yeah, a lot of Dragon Door here.
I love this for Kaz, holding on to this 9 so a little bit longer than you might normally because he eyes up the 789 Sancho possibility.
Oh yeah, and you know what? It serves double purpose as a Gembutsu to Aaron over here too, which is the player in last place that you definitely don't want to revive at this point.
Yeah, that's actually a great consideration as you're building your hand. Usually, you want to keep an eye on the dealer and make sure you have a folding path in case they declare Ricci as we get later into the hand. And when you are the dealer, then the person you don't want to deal into is maybe your direct competition or the person in dead last. And in this case, having 9 so against Aaron is certainly has some utility.
We'll see how long this Haku lasts in Bianca's hand. Ricky is ready to pawn it into Tenpai on a good weight,
Mm.
has a perfect Ishan-ten right now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a giveaway, that early 4-pin 9-pin that he had the 6-7 shape, but we'll see if anyone falls for this. They might not believe he's Tempai yet.
Call me a coward, but I would think that he's Tenpai.
That's fair. My patented coward Zhang would also fold away from this position.
Bianca takes a chi, probably trying to outpace this hand. Still, Ishan-ten, with two bad shapes, would need to shift around the pair to make use of that Manzurianmen.
Ricky, as you've noted before in the previous game, sliding away with the 9-so cut might draw their eyes to the upper Sozu as a danger area.
No progress for Kaz so far, but also no terrible danger.
Speaking about those slides, when you're looking defensively and you see that 9-so come out, do you read that as a slide or do you read that as a change in hand shape?
So it's really interesting. Oh, there we go with the sumo. In a case like this, where there is maybe even a possibility of a Sozu Honitsu, I might view it as a move to Tenpai. But I really feel like if the hand had the two Haku and called it, that it would be more speed-oriented than trying to force Honitsu on top of all of that. So I expected the Tenpai after the first call and all those middle tiles cut. So I would personally see it as a slide, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, certainly, these are all things that you can consider as pieces of information that you can put together to complete the puzzle. Always good to use every little bit of information that you can to decipher what's in opponent's hands.
Yeah, especially when you know that the opponents you're playing against have a lot of experience, because they're less likely to be doing random things that could throw off your reads.
Yeah, and that is definitely the case in A2. These players have been in the league for quite a while.
I think unfortunately Aaron may have misclicked over there with that 4-mon breaks the Ryanmen. Unless the thought is to end on the Shampon, in which case 5-mon, 4-mon could come out here.
Yeah, doing it that way still gives you the 3-mon acceptance. It's not the way you want to complete that shape if you're targeting the Shaba weight, but it's nice to have, in case you are in a position where you just need to slam any Ricci.
Ooh, decides to pawn here. Perhaps eyeing the backup Toy as well as, of course, the Chun.
Oh, well, you called it. There's another pair up, and I think we are shifting to Toy now. Unfortunate pair of Dora cut from Kaz. The first one doesn't really fit in your hand that well if you're trying to hold on to a save tile. You can hedge the 5-pin draw, but just got mega backfired for having cut it.
And there we go. 4-pin, 1-mon Shampon, 1-mon, 1 left. 4-pin, 1 left.
Chi.
Well, here we see a Chi, Itsu Tenpai, 2 5-pin for Itsu only.
Got the full straight, maybe gonna diffuse this nice Toy. And if the 1-so comes out, I'm sure Aaron would con.
Oh yeah, for certain. I'm trying to think right now, does it bring up the Fu to do so? Currently, it could be 16 Fu on a 4-pin run. If you con, you go up another 8 Fu, so it would help on a 4-pin run.
Oh, the 2-pin.
Dong.
That's got to come out, and Kaz will once again diffuse what could have been a really nice hand for Aaron. And that bumps Kaz to 31-3. As we enter South 3, this is where the players are looking at that score line and trying to set up a strong position for all last. And Ricky is trying to set up a really strong position with this hand potentially. Pair of South and Red Dragon could even move in the direction of a flush. Really commit with the 1-2 pin? Yes.
Does. Yeah, this one is interesting because you're really close in score to Bianca. So if you just go for the cheapo fast hand, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to hold a small lead. Whereas this goes straight for the 12k Mangan, which would give you a very good chance at holding on to the first.
On the other side, Aaron also aiming for a flush, this time the Sosu. And typically the player to the right is the player that has the advantage because Ricky's going to be dropping all the So tiles and Aaron will happily accept those tiles from Ricky. So we'll see if that holds true here. As of now, it seems that Ricky's got an advantage in terms of speed, but hold on a second. Bianca is the one with the real advantage. Slamming a Ricci already.
It is a Rishi only on 4-7 Mon, but still 5 left in the wall, which is not bad at all.
Yeah, especially considering one of the players is going for a flush. They only have one in their hand. Well, make that 2, and Ricky's just going to jam out that 5, so it's actually not that dangerous, I don't think. But
yeah, I agree.
The shift here is going to give Bianca the Tsumo, Ricci Tsumo, and that is going to also extend the lead with Ricky taking the 1,000 point payment rather than the 500. So a nice 6,500 lead going into all last for Bianca. We'll see if she can hold.
And we should also see whether Kaz holds on to being above 30,000. That Sumo put him really, really close to teetering over the edge to the 20,000s.
This position is so similar to the one that we had in the last game. The only difference being that Ricky was ahead and Bianca was in second place. And Bianca's charging straight forward for a speedy hand to just end this thing.
Yeah, if you're Aaron here, once again, you're just going to try and speed this up, but this hand is not fast and it's not callable at the moment. Maybe if a 789 Sancho comes into view, you could go for a Chi and try and fix the bad shapes, but right now, that Chun pawn is the last thing you want to see.
And another call. You know Bianca's fast. You know you are super slow, so you just need to draw perfect tiles from here on out. And Kaz has to be a little bit careful, even if this hand is just 1,000 points. If he deals into just 1,000 points, that's not a 1,000 point loss. That's 5,000 points lost because he'll dip below 30,000 and lose 5 points of Uma as a result.
Make some improvements.
Oof. Straight into Tempai, and Kaz has a dangerous Dora. He cannot drop that now.
Oh, this is terrible. The 9-so has to come out here because the shape improvement and the Sanchoku present themselves, and that leaves the Dora as a deal-in tile. If it pairs up first, then you're saved. There's only 2 left in the wall, though.
Is there any way he just cuts 2-so? Like, surely not. Really, the only path is to just draw the Dora himself, and Bianca, this a rush to Tempai is applying so much pressure that surely it gets there first. How is Ricky doing?
Each.
Oh, there we go. Unfortunate. Another good push, but that's going to end the game.
2,000 points going to Bianca. So 30.5 for her. Ricky gets the second place this time, plus 12.0. And Kaz, again, squeaking by with a positive third place. Not going to look good for his stat line, but it actually is quite strong to finish with a positive third. And so he will end the series with 0 first, 1 second, 2 thirds, and 1 fourth. But those 2 thirds were both positive results for him. And he'll be sitting at a cool negative 37.2. Aaron was in the lead after the first 2 games, but had really just a couple unfortunate games. To get fourth here, and we'll drop down to minus 25.1. Bianca and Ricky both held the top 2 spots, alternating places, who got the first and who got the second, and both will end in the positives after the first session for their A2 series. Ricky in particular was very, very close to getting the promotion to A1 last season, was the first person off, and by only something like 6 points, and well, positioning himself well in this first round to hopefully get the promotion this season.
I am very impressed with these players because they finished 2 Hanshan in just 1 hour.
Yeah, some speedy play for sure.
Yeah, speaking of third places that are good, I recently read an article, trying to remember the name of who wrote it. It was on the JPML site. Ah, yes, by Toyota Urata, who says in rules like these, where you have a floating Uma, don't aim for first place. Aim to float at all costs,
Hmm.
because if you can do that, you will always have positive results. And in a league setting, that means a lot.
Yeah, if you find yourself bouncing up and down with firsts and fourths, or positive results and negative results, you end up somewhere in the middle. But if you're always getting consistent positive results, you'll slowly float your way, not only in the game, but to the top of the standings, the upper half of the standings at least. Okay, well, we are hitting the new hour, which means a new set of games should be starting very soon. A number of games are going on in progress right now that we could hop into, but I'm hoping we can catch a full game. Let me see who is starting at this hour. It looks like we are expecting a game from B15 featuring Eric L, Donald K, Jason C, and Michael H. Oh, some of those names I am very excited to watch compete against each other specifically. So I think what we're going to do is take a couple minute break. That'll also give me the opportunity to fix the scrolling bar for y'all. And if that game doesn't start in that meantime, then we'll hop into one of the ones that is already in progress.
Sounds good. We'll see you soon, folks.
All right, folks, a couple of minutes to the next game start. It looks like that B1 series is going to be delayed a little bit longer, but in the meantime, we do have a B3 game starting in a couple of minutes, and so we'll hop there instead, featuring George, Henry, Isabella, and Tyler. And looking at the stats, it looks like Tyler's having a great start. They've already played 3 games this series, and in those 3 games, he's got 2 firsts and a third place for a plus 1 of 1.3. Those must have been some insane firsts.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Yakuman mixed into that.
Ooh, it's time for me to dig into the game results to see if a Yakuman was found. How has Tyler done it tonight?
Yeah, 101.3 in Akanashi after just 3 games, including 1 third place. Even if that third place was a positive third place, is amazing.
Okay, in the first game, he finished with plus 43.5 with a Baimon. Wait, he didn't even win the Baimon. Somebody else won the Baimon. Just some really nice Mongon hands. Maybe, yeah, went on a bit of a dealer run, it looks like. And so that is how he accomplished it the first hand. The Baimon, by the way, for George was a Toy Toy Hakuchu Nan Honroto Honitsu.
Oh, wow.
I would like to see that hand go through again. And I haven't seen the other results, but I don't remember seeing a Yakuman. So must just be doing it with some consistent wins. Certainly, if you can run up your dealerships, that's one way to get there.
Hoping to see some better results for Isabella this game. It looks like her win rate in the past 3 was just 4.3% with an average of 1,900. Probably very, very unluckily dealing with all those monster hands.
Yeah, it sounds like the players at this table have been really building for value. And if you find yourself on the wrong end, as we saw in that last A2 series, you can get some unlucky results. But game is underway. George will be our first dealer. Of course,
Looks like
Henry
the
to the
door is
right,
east.
Isabel across the table, and Tyler on the left. East door always exciting in the East round.
Yeah, 1 over on the left so far, rest in the wall. It's looking like George's hand is not that bad. Already a sticky 2 Shanten, possible Ipeiko.
Straight into Ishanten. And you're not even that sad to take a Ricci Ipeiko on a bad weight as dealer.
Especially now that the East has passed. Gets dropped pretty early on. Makes sense for that hand, though. Tyler has good Tanyao and Pinfu shapes, especially after that 6-pin draw. Alright, we've stuck a 9-mon to that shape. George's hand is now headless. Ishanten can still get that 8-pin for the Ipeiko. Would end up on a Tonki, but you can always swap that around.
Oh, chat notes that 3 of the players have the exact same participation rate, although the way they got there is very different. Some players with heavy Ricci, some players with heavy call. Actually, it seems like this entire table has a much heavier Ricci rate than call rate. Of course,
So I expect we're going to see more men's in play then.
Early in the season, the numbers do look a little weird most of the times, but it is, even for that, unusual to see such a heavy Ricci presence.
And that goes hand in
Gee.
hand with people who are going for large hands. Often you don't open for them unless you have like a Dora 3 or something like that. So
Interesting
quick
opportunity
chi over. Oh yeah.
The 1-so is cut twice already by George, and a third time across the way. But you could cut the 5, and then the 4, and maybe find yourself in a Junchan scenario.
Unfortunately, that 1-so comes out right afterwards.
Okay.
I was actually thinking, is that 2-so worth keeping for a Nobuton? You cut the 7-pin there and get Pinfu on the 2-5, so draws the 6-9 pin and the 1-4 mon.
It seems, yeah, slightly wider. Well,
No.
maybe you lose the 2-mon and 3-mon draws, but pretty close to being, equivalent in terms of acceptance. But you do lose the Ipeiko chance, and With
Yeah.
the way this table's been greeting for value, perhaps Ipeco chance is just too strong here. But the Sosu are kind of limited on in players' hands, which might be indicated by the number of tiles that have been discarded. So perhaps George could take that in consideration, believe that the 2-5 would be actually a strong shape to keep. Would have found Tempai a little sooner, but does get Tempai now on the 8-pin.
I'd
Dama.
Dama this late. I guess there's extra consideration to Dama here since the 6-7 pin was cut from the player on our left. Could take that as a sign that they don't have any 8 pin. And it looks like it would flow out easily from them.
Proved weight on the right, but also will Dama being Shuritan. Will they go back? No. Sticks with the Shuritan. It only gives you one extra tile because there is most of the 8 mil are cut anyway.
Yeah, I think in this case the 4-mon's probably dropped because it's a known safe tile,
Yeah.
and it's so late. Whereas early in the hand, I might drop the 7 and see what happens. All right, 2 players Tempai, and we go into East 1, Repeat 1. Dora is the red dragon, and the dealer hand is Ishanten already for Richie only.
Yeah, this is one of those hands where I don't even really think of it as Ishanten unless I draw the 6-pin, and then I'll slam away the Ricci. But in most worlds, I want to get something better.
I would love to see an upgrade to Pinfu or 789 Sanchoku here.
Yeah, interesting. Cutting the 9 so floating the 5-pin and the 6-mon, and draws the 4-pin into Tempai.
Now, these players have shown to be greedy. Do we see a 1-pin cut? No, just immediate Ricci.
Yeah, a little more hesitation than perhaps you'd expect to see from someone who wasn't thinking about greedy value opportunities. So George does end up slamming Ricci Pinfu as dealer. Early, very strong.
Oh, wow. We see Henry push the Chun into the dealer. Doesn't deal in, but here we go with the Sumo for 2,600 all. That's 27 all with the repeat.
Nice Uda hit. It always feels so good to hit the Uda when you've got a Pinfu hand to increase that value. And George up to 39.6, repeating once again.
All players below 30k for now, though there are many more hands to go. Possible Honitsu over here for the dealer if they decide to start opening. And wow, what do you think of this pawn over to the right?
That's certainly aggressive. It seems too far away from Honitsu to go that direction, so maybe a Toy Toy?
Yeah, probably a Toy Toy now with backdoor Chanta now that the North has drawn.
We'll see which direction it ends up going in the end. It's always nice when you make a call like this that you have 2 different routes to go. Oh, might get it all.
Well, we were talking about Honrota earlier.
Just a 1-so draw away from really moving in that direction.
Double East pair up for George over here could make opening the hand easier, even though there's a lot of over shapes in Tozu.
Yeah, the pin shape isn't even that great, so wouldn't be surprised if George moves in the direction of Honitsu.
Pausing on this 3-so, I don't think you call this. The Tanyao isn't confirmed and the hand doesn't have a whole value, but we go forward with the pawn, perhaps trying to match the speed of the player across.
Yeah, clearly Tyler wasn't that enamored with the call, otherwise it would have happened a lot faster. But decided that, yeah, was going to try to match speed and gets rewarded with the 4-pin draw. So now any Tanyao concerns have been solved.
Ooh, 1-so comes out, and this is Tenpai over on the right. I think the Toy Toy is the way to go. If we're really greedy, we drop the 2-so and hope to pair up the 1-so or pair the 9-mon. But yeah, decides to go for the higher immediate value, which I agree with.
Yeah, certainly this is the normal play. And the funny thing is, the 2-so cut isn't the worst because you have a route to win. The problem is the 3-so had been called already, so was actually like rooting for Chankon at best. Chankon Chanta. which would have been hilarious, but the Toy Toy is certainly more of
absolutely.
immediate value, more likely to win. The thing with the Tuso cut is you can improve later, which is, I'm sure, what Stormo was considering, but Henry just grabbed the Toy Toy win and will send us to East 2.
All right, Dora is the 5-so, one of those in Henry's hand over here. One across the way, and acceptance over to the left and the right. Could have some explosive hands here. At the moment, though, Henry's hand is a little bit boring. It's actually not that slow, though. You have acceptance in the Sozo on 2 sides, and if you can stick something to the 8-mon, it's looking good.
Looking for the hand with Dora. Tyler's got one, and actually some pretty reasonable shapes, too. Really, actually, is overblocked here. Has too many shapes, so we'll have to cut one away. Will it be the Green Dragon pair? Will it be the Tuso pair? Will it be a 7-pin and then an 8-pin? Unclear at the moment. It really depends a bit on your draws. Say you drew a 6-so, if you're across the table in Tyler's seat. Do you like cutting the Hatsu pair? Do you like cutting a 7-pin first and
1
hedging the Green Dragon call?
I like cutting the Hatsu pair because you open up the opportunity for both Pinfu and Ipeiko and a good weight. I could very much so see cutting 7-8 pin though, because the win rate is going to be similar to a Ryanman if you end up on that Champon, at least if we're talking before the end of row 2.
Instead, we see a Ricci from George, and that is going to put some pressure. Ricci Pinfu does miss out on the Itsu, but I don't think you're going to wait 2 turns for that draw to come through. Of course, you don't know how many draws it will take.
And we get the call on Ricci Pinfu, Ura 1 for 3,900. Yeah, that hand's interesting because you could even consider the Damo there, not just for the Itsu, but also for the 4-7 pin draws into Tanya.
Yeah, they're not just one upgrade route there. You have multiple tiles.
So I won't even say that I hate it. I think I slammed there like 90% of the time, but if I'm searching for more value towards, say, the end of the game, I could totally see a Dama there, especially since it's a Class C Ryanman that you don't expect to win super easily.
Yeah, and that's a great point for players, as you're evaluating your hands. You might not make a choice in the current status of the game, but it's always good to consider, especially when you're reviewing the games, whether you'd make that choice in a different position. And it's good to have those things sitting in your mind so that you are prepared for when they happen in other positions in the game.
We have a clear-cut Honitsu across the way. Possible Shosangen still. Daisangen would be very unlikely, but is still technically possible.
Well, you know what I'm really excited about, and that's the potential for Dion Peiko on the left.
Oh man, we have 2 very, very exciting and rare hands happening right now. Would have to make some good fills. 5-mon and 6-pin.
Either can, or rather, George can afford to cut the 9-so and still hedge that exciting hand.
Yeah, it's actually better acceptance to cut the 9-so there because there's 2 9-sos out and only 1 Haku out.
The $1,000,000 question: if you draw a 5 or 8-so, do you cut the 2 and wait for the Shosangen, or do you go for the wider 2-so, 3-so wait?
Also, I apologize. I'm going to correct myself. The 9-so cut is not the better acceptance because it allows you to draw the 6-so into Tenpai, which I clearly missed.
Oh yeah, I did miss that.
But I would still do this any day. The chance for a potential Yakuman is just too fun, and it's not a huge loss.
Yeah, it's not like we want it to be on that weight anyway. Although it would be an extra door in the hand for Hanuman.
You know what else is Hanuman? Getting the Haku.
That's very true. And well, Isabella has now found a Tenpai of her own. Tanya Dora 1 trying to shut down these 2 expensive hands. For the time being, Henry dodges.
1
Here's that question posed to George. He'll call the tile. Which weight? Haku, we're going for Shosangen.
After all, why not? Why shouldn't I? Yeah, especially with player and Ricci. Oh man.
Shosangen Honitsu. It is going to be a Hanuman. George, massively rewarded for going for the fun hand, and gets the commentator's stamp of approval.
Amazing.
And now I understand why there's such high win values at this table. Just always picking the fun route is excellent. I'd love to see it.
All right, East 4, door is the 2-pin, and it looks like Tyler has acceptance for that. Is going to need acceptance for the door after that hit. Or already a fast pawn with the north over to the right, though it looks like George is trying to run out a quick Sanchoku or Haku, and there's the Haku draw.
The Haku loves George right now. Khan?
Kang.
Yeah, we're feeling it. Polidora?
Dora 5-mon there.
George
20 food doesn't up the hand unless you sumo.
George is flying high after that. Hakuron. Is she actually not that useful? We'll just draw it anyway. Now do you go headless? We'll say, okay, I could draw a 5-mon Dora and be even happier.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Because the 5-mon is Dora. If the 5 they don't pay any consideration to changing to the wider Ishanten just because the shapes are bad if you draw the Ryeonmin first, but because the 5-mon's the door, it's actually an interesting choice.
Since if you draw the 6-mon as your pair, then you have to cut the 5-mon later. But you get really rewarded if you draw the 5-mon itself.
The Richi over to the left has a very funny shape in the Sozu. 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4. You don't see that often.
Yeah, that makes it not a Pinshu. It's just Richi, maybe Richi Tanya if you find the 6-so.
Unfortunately, no 6-sos left in the wall. 2 9-sos left in the wall. Everything else is dead at the moment.
George will take this Tenpai 4-7-mon. Haku Dora 1. Oh, but this 9-so.
Big favorite here. Oh.
No.
One of the last couple 9-so in the wall. Richi and 1 Uda.
Yeah.
It's always nice when you make a somewhat speculative con and you deal in, but the con didn't add any extra value to the other player's hand.
Yeah, always feels better.
Unfortunately, typically when I con, I deal in and they get an extra like Uda 3 or something.
Oh yeah, no, inevitably. I mean, it's not even a question. I'll just pay them the Hanuman in advance. I'm not even going to look. It's going to be there.
But George still sitting pretty here with a 50,000 points back into South 1, back into his dealership.
Boom.
And with this hand, could easily go for a couple repeats.
Already Shanten. Kind of spoiled for choice here with these shapes. I don't even mind putting the 6-mon there.
Yeah, that's not a horrible way to progress either.
I think it's very natural to cut the 9-mon and hope to improve into a javelin shape with the 5-mon draw, though.
Yeah. In Akanashi, it's interesting because sometimes you pay a little less attention to those considerations with no red 5s in the game.
For sure.
If we're playing Akaari and you told me cut the 6-mon there to go for Chanta, I'd be like, you're smoking something. But over here, it's quite good.
Across the way, Isabel finds a pair in the hand. Probably not the pair she was looking for, but, you know, that puts you 1 away from Tenpai, so she will take it. Oh, well, that's a bit of an awkward draw. Technically, the hand's, 1 away from Tenpai, but George now with 2 awkward shapes. Both of them can be improved, of course.
Yeah. It's slightly better than your normal Kanchan headless because there's the chance for the Nobaton there in the Pinzu. But even that's not looking too good after that 1 pin came out.
Oh, well, that'll be a Tenpai.
I think you just go for it.
Chi.
Typical to wait on the more terminal tile. 6-mon is more towards the center, so you expect to see that come out a little bit less. And this is one of the benefits of maybe cutting the 6-mon earlier, is that you get We had to wait on the 9-mon instead. But Tonki is easy to swap, and he'll, surprise, surprise, wait for the Haku. It's been a tile that's
Boom.
favored him all game long. We'll see if he can pull out one more win with it.
You're left in the wall, high chances that someone drops it, even if he doesn't draw it himself.
Nope.
Boom.
A Puln. Tyler calls into Tempai that actually prevents Stormo, Henry, from getting the Tempai. Takes but one more turn to find his way there. Oh, could have cut the 3, so.
Yeah, that one's a hard shape to see because you view the Anko as something complete and you're like, well, I don't need anything around it.
Boom.
But it is an extended Sanmin-chan.
I'm not sure Isabella intended to call that tile, but here we are now, Amy Fortano.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think the hesitation after the call indicates it was a misclick, but those things happen. Also, Tyler, after drawing the 4-pin, switches to Dora Tonki for Toy Toy as well. So now Toy
Dora
Toy
is
south,
dead.
Dora 2.
It's a funny 360 Tempai over on the right, but it's the Haku Tonki that wins.
Hey, good night, guys.
By making that call, Isabella ended up giving that tile to Tyler instead of having George sumo that tile. So that's the big brain play. The way to avoid losing points is shift the draws so that somebody else deals it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's I had the pleasure of taking apart an Amos Ultima recently to replace the turntable and took another look into that history of the table. A lot of people claim that you can shift the luck of the draw because it stacks the walls with the bad tiles on the bottom and the good tiles on top, apparently. Something about the discards that people don't want going in first and getting stacked up before the rest because of poor shuffling. But I have to say, after taking a poke inside, I was pretty happy with how it shuffled.
I was thinking about the future of mahjong tables. I don't know if anyone's tried making a table that does a pre-designed shuffle or like arranges the wall similar to the way an online client would, and then just puts the tiles into place. Oh, by the way, this is a template for Isabel, not willing to take a Kanchan Ricci, now has a donkey, also not willing to take this Ricci either, looking for something better. The issue here is a lot of her upgrades are Furiten, like draws around the Tuso are Furiten, draws against the upper Pinzu are Furiten, but the 2-mon's not, so 2 5-pin will work.
Ricci.
And she'll slam it.
All right, 2 5-pin, 4 copies left in the wall. George over here is a little bit stuck. Goes for the Suji 8-mon.
And normally you'd be a little bit suspicious of tiles that are Suji to the Ricci declaration tile. But with a 7-mon and then a 5-mon, it's pretty rare that the 8-mon deals in.
Yeah,
No.
it would... Oh, there we go. Continues to push forward towards Tempai and deals into Ricci Yakuhai. Luckily, it's the Haku there and not the Hatsu.
Yeah, not a lot for George to work with there. Maybe one pin was slightly safer for no other reason than it's a terminal tile, but yeah, not really punished for playing towards Tempai. So
South 2, Dora's the 9-so, and if I were in Henry's place, I'd be very happy with this hand. Lots and lots of improvable shapes. I see the path towards Tanyao, Ipeiko, Dora, any mix of large Yakus. I might even cut the 1-2-mon there.
yeah, I was going to ask you, I actually had that question posed to me fairly recently with these 4 good shapes and a 6-mon and a 1-2 shape. Do you keep the 6-mon or do you cut the 1-2-mon? What sort of considerations do you take? Because I feel like this has a lot of nuance.
A lot of it for me turns out to be based on where we are in the game and whether there are active threats on the table. Turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, I'm still willing to do that a lot of time because the 1-2-mon, even though it's more efficient to keep in the short run, ends up being difficult to fill. And so it doesn't really speed up our hand that much to keep it, especially when you have such great shapes already and the potential for higher value and Yaku.
Yeah, in this case, we had an opportunity towards 678 Sanshoku, and that leads me to believe that I kind of want to hold the 6-mon a little bit longer. Turns out the 3-mon would have filled, but you can't ever know that in the moment.
Yeah, I think even if you wanted to do something,
リーチ
I don't know, I'll just call it half-hearted, like cutting the 8, so it's just too much of a loss because then you get rid
Yes.
of your Dora acceptance. Oh, quick Ricci over on the left. It's looking like a 2-5-mon wait. The 5-mon would give Ipeiko.
リーチ
And the patience for Henry being rewarded. Gets his choice of discard. Can cut 2-so for 4-5-8 pin, or something like the, well, 7 pin is sweetie 10s. We don't want to do that. Don't want
Yeah,
the
2,
Shabo.
5, 8 so can all be cut. Yeah, 2-so's the furthest from the Dora there. So another Ricci with the possibility for Ipeiko, but on top of the pinfu that both hands have, Henry has the chance, or sorry, the guarantee of Tanyo.
Yeah, and notably, George actually waited 1 turn before declaring the Ricci. Perhaps with this lead, he was considering holding the Dama to just snipe a win and move us forward into South 3, but later decided, you know what, this wait's good enough, I should just be applying pressure to the table.
You know, when it comes to a hand that waits 1 turn like that, I
Sumo.
always think, oh, that must be pretty average. Because it would have been a snap call otherwise. It's either average or it's very bad.
Yeah.
All right, Ricci, Sumo, Pinfu, Tanya, 26 all.
Let's get the cheap side, so not the full Mongon, which I'm sure Harry will be a little disappointed at, because that would have been a great opportunity
ポン
to come very close to overtaking George. However, you get to repeat as dealer, you earned a lot of points, and you are over 30,000, so that's a great, not a bad place for Henry to be.
George takes a very far call here. Normally, there's no problem with taking this Hatsu, but the hand is very, very disjointed at the moment, and you don't have any Dora, so you don't want to overcommit to calling this too much, especially with the lead. You're very close to, you know, second place over here, and it's second place's dealership.
And I wonder
So,
if,
you know, there's the consideration of, like, getting rid of their dealership as fast as possible, but with a hand like this, I wouldn't be too confident.
yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I wonder if George is maybe feeling a little bit of pressure because Henry is starting to threaten, getting close, and he just wants to move forward with the calls to end the threat as soon as possible. Sometimes that can be counteractive. It can end up putting you in a bad position moving forward. Now, George does have all the shapes he needs. They're all bad shapes, but that does mean he can.
チ
Another fun thing, it doesn't really matter that much, is that each call that George takes from their toy men ends up giving the dealer a extra draw faster because it skips a player.
Hmm.
So you actually help the dealer out a little bit by taking pawns.
Looking at these other
Gee.
hands, Ishanten across the way for Tyler with potential Ipeiko. Dealer now approaching Tepai as well. East already once cut. George did get rid of that just in time, and George also, fight the call into Tempai, has been filling these Conchons without issue. Even without those early honor cuts, you might suspect some type of flush.
Yeah. And, you know, I do have to worry a little bit if I'm in George's shoes. Why am I getting all of these tiles so easily from my Kamicha? And it's because your Kamicha is very close to Tempai, or to Ishanten.
They even
Nice weight improvement.
improved with the 5-so draw.
Yeah. It's a little disappointing that one of the 9-mon's already out, but you can even switch to a Tonki down the line if you want to. Say if you draw the door and you don't want to toss it.
Yeah, and I'm sure George was thinking about the potential to draw the Dora because he hesitated a little bit on cutting the 5-mon. Now, if he draws the Dora, it won't be in a confirmed good shape.
I'm gonna be honest here. I might have just cut the 8-mon in that case, since there's already one of the 9-mons out. It's
リーチ
That's
definitely a
tough,
trade-off here.
yeah, that's a tough decision to make. Tyler does find the Tempai, though, on 8-so South Shabo, aiming for the extra value that the South would provide. Those are
I
both
guess
in
the
the
question
wall.
is, if
Boom.
George draws the South, will it rocket out or will the 9-mon be swapped for the Tonki?
チ
So far, he hasn't really had to push anything that dangerous. The 8-pin was probably the biggest shove, but that's like not even that dangerous at all. So
Well, this is Tenpai. Takes the 3-6-0 weight.
相撲
Oh, and the sumo.
George does shut it down. That one on hand, and now this lead is over 10,000 points. So George is outside of Mongon sumo range. It'll take a couple hands for Tyler, or rather for Henry to catch up, or one Hanuman sumo. But now eyes are on Ichigo, the dealer, Isabella, with a great initial set of tiles and a chance to make it over 30k.
ポン
Yeah, this is a premium high pie. You almost don't even care about the fact that someone to your right called that Haku, because it's just so easy to get into Tenpai here.
And you maybe even pause a little bit because Tyler is the player in last place, and you wonder what kind of hand is worth calling for. In this case, Tyler has another dealership remaining, so it's just trying to make sure that somebody else is staying below 30,000, and the hand doesn't really look like it's a very good hand to stay close to Samarichi with all these awkward shapes. Much easier to go for some type of Chanta, Dora, Yakuhai open hand that could be completed with calls.
I've seen a couple times now, Ichigo had the 9-pin, could have kept the 2 Nobitons, but rejected it to keep this 4-mon. Maybe... I'm trying to see if there's any like Sanchoku shifts, maybe a faraway shift to 2-3-4, but I don't see that happening. There's already 2 completed groups.
Yeah, really?
I think in particular, like that 8-so cut is a potential loss because now you can't accept the door into Tenpai.
Okay, we get it back. Surely 5-so can be seen as a pseudo pair.
It's a good shape.
And as you mentioned before, it also enables the acceptance of the Dora.
Yeah, and I'm not even just thinking about drawing the door into Tenpai. I'm drawing the 2-3 pin and waiting on the Dora.
Absolutely. And even, I guess we'd still cut the 8-so, but there was a such... Okay, Isabella just knew that the 4-mon would be her pair.
Oh, should have had faith.
we used telepathy 5 minutes in the future to convince her to drop it, and look how it's backfired. We should have been more
stream
aware.
watching.
Well, this is a little awkward actually for George to cut the 1-pin pair because the 4-mon is twice cut. This Ipeko
ポン
is somewhat limited. And we're Tenpai, but there's only one left.
Good news is we can pull in the 8-mon and end up on a pretty good weight. We have 2 choices of Ranman or
Sumo.
Champon.
No, once again, commentators with a lack of faith. Of course the 4-mon will come. That's actually nuts to me. I didn't realize the 4-mon was such a good tile, but I'm learning. To see them so close to
And
each
we
other
find
in the
ourselves.
hand. Or in the wall, rather.
Yeah, they're all stacked in that same section of the wall.
ポン
Quick pawn off to the left. Probably just trying to get above
Boom.
30k. That's only a 2k hand. Now it's 39. All the Hakus are left in the wall, too.
Oh my.
And you know, Ichigo has the kanji for Haku in her name, her username. So surely that will draw it in. Oh, well, there we go. Shosangan at best.
You know, I was kind of thinking about cutting the 6-8 mon rather than the 8-so here in the hopes of adding Chanta to the total as well, but now we have to worry about a dealer Ricci.
Yeah, and normally I wouldn't be too enthused about this Ricci because you can cut the 1-2-so and upgrade, but there's already 2 6-sos out and, you know, you just slam. That's
and
why.
Jesse Patsumo and Uran find 12,000 points. Okay. Sanzo for Tyler, and all of a sudden we've got a real battle for third place. And keep in mind, as long as Tyler keeps winning hands, that game will not end.
And you know, George is probably not too unhappy about this because Henry is very close to being below 30k now. A quick 2k hand puts him below and gives George the A-top win.
That's right. I mean, George just lost 4,000 points there via Sumo, but if Henry, say, deals into Isabella for 2,000 plus the home bus 3,000, then George will end up netting 1,000 points as a result of Henry dropping below 30k and ending the game. So that is a really interesting and unique part of the floating UMA that makes the endgame scenarios quite interesting. Tyler, though, not ready to give up in this game just yet. The shapes currently in hand are a little bit awkward. I wonder if he ends up cutting west-west in the future to just try to call towards a Tanyo.
I think I'd take the first call I can. I don't have the luxury of waiting around for value with these shapes.
We've already hit the start of row 2. West-west?
Surely.
All right, we're on the same wavelength here.
It's pretty funny to have the Ryankan Kanchan 2 Shanten, but it's just not that good.
Isabella, nice 6-mon fill. Approaching Tempai now. Just trying to read that pin shape. A little bit awkward there. Because the 7-pin draw, you have to decide how committed you are to Ipeko. Probably you prefer to aim for the P through Sanchoku route.
Mm.
And maybe you can't get both, but one or the other.
2 Ishantens now. George and Henry are both Ishanten over here. Henry has a slightly nicer hand, though.
Small hesitation as George considers calling in the direction of Tanya, but that also takes a lot of maneuvering, so we'll let that go by.
We pawn here, drop 8, so?
홈,
Don't get fooled by the Ryanman. Oh no.
Yeah, that 9-so acceptance doesn't actually do anything for us. We do lose the 4-so acceptance in the meantime. I wonder if at this point, Tyler isn't even thinking about winning the hand, actually. It's just saying, I want to be Tempai. And thinks the 9-so could come
Boom.
up.
Yeah, I guess there is one 9-so left. There's just that many more 4-sos out. I'm reading the Soso as a relatively cheap-looking suit.
Mm.
I'm not entirely correct here looking at the hands, but I think there's still a couple 4-sos left, thankfully. I don't know, there's only 2 or 3 draws left now. Ooh,
Okay,
Ishanten.
pair something up or find a 5-mon or 6-9-so. Tyler doesn't have to be done with his hand just yet. Oh, and Ichigo fills in the 50-10 shape, so one away as well.
Oh no, 4-so.
One draw remain for everyone. Henry, that's not Tempai, but that will give Isabella Tempai, and she'll take potential Sancho Kutanyao. Tyler misses, so this is going to be the end of the game.
If Ichigo gets the Ron, is it better to sink 3 players?
It does not benefit your score, so
Mm-hmm.
It would only benefit George's score if she gets the
Right.
Suhan Ron.
Right.
And in this case, she is the only player Tempai, so it turns out to be better than the Ron.
There we go, plus 3 points.
Yeah, we'll finish with minus 7 points for her. Tyler, minus 27.0. Henry, good effort in this game, stays above 30,000, plus 6.0. George had some gorgeous hands. The one that stands out to me, of course, must be the Honitsu Sho Sangan with a door in the hand for a Hanaman. And it will be George and Tyler up at the top of the standings after 4 games complete in Division B3. Isabella joins us in the chat. GG's. You only caught one of the games, this last one. But more games to be played, and let's take a look at the schedule and see if anything is coming up very soon. About 15 minutes past the half hour. Oh, I see a game starting in 2 minutes.
Great.
Oh, it's that B15 series that we previewed earlier, so let's hop in that direction. Of course, in the B3 standings that we see now, there's a big empty space in the middle, and that is players who have yet to play their games. Hopefully they have them scheduled because we are in the second week of session 1.
So actually about that dealer Baimon Ichigo, we did kind of go over it a little bit earlier, but we did not get a picture of it. So hopefully someone posts that again at some point.
Let's see. I believe Donald was one of the players that we're going to be watching. And once I type this in, the standings should change to the new players, Michael, Jason, and Eric. One of the many Michaels.
Yeah.
I think we only have one Jason in the league, who will also be participating in the Invitational. That's happening very soon. He's won a
Yeah,
bunch
1
of
week.
tournaments in the past year. And Eric. I was wondering if it was this Eric. It is indeed Eric Isla. He's had many excellent seasons in the A2 division. Always a very fun player to watch. Also participates in a lot of the tournaments on other clients and has typically very strong placements in those. Notably, I believe plays very strongly in the recent Vortex Gallery tournament.
Ah. I played a bunch of Eric's at the Chicago Open not too long ago, I guess.
Oh, were you part of the Eric table?
Yes, we discovered that Itsu is Ariaku because it happened no less than 6 times in one Hanchan.
That's incredible.
All right, and I believe the Michael H playing now is the Michael H from our club. So good luck to you, Michael. Big Red Panda across the way, who is our starting dealer.
Yeah, interestingly, you can see one player at this table with 3 games played and the other 3 tables with 1 game played. So I believe what's happening here is that one of the players has played a couple games from a different session, perhaps the second session, which a lot of players will be going to the Invitational, so they might have wanted to get those out of the way. And I believe we are on game 2 for this current table.
Yes, that does seem to be the case. As Ember states in the chat, Michael unfortunately has a 0% win rate after 1 game, so that must have been a Yakitori. But a very high call rate of 58%.
Yeah, usually high call rate means you're going for speed, and if your speedy hands aren't winning out, that means the other players are getting quite fortunate indeed.
I think another element of it might also be if you're calling a lot in Akanashi and the Dora is hard to use, people are able to read your hand value super easily and they just don't care about your hands. So they might let you call a lot of tiles, but they end up winning in the end.
We'll get to see if that was just a one-off game or if that holds true for this game as well. Eric, our current dealer, finding a nice 7-mon draw, and I'm expecting very, very solid, efficient plays from Eric in this game. Kind of thinking about the potential for an Itsu here.
Yeah, I can see that, but what I can also see is I don't think Eric is the starting dealer. I believe that is Michael across the way.
Oh, you're right. Somehow I've ended up on the wrong player. So let's hop over and look at Michael instead.
Well, Michael's hand looks pretty good over here. Has a very, very nasty 5/8 so weight, if that ends up being the final shape. So unfortunately it backfired on the 7 so, but that might become this hand's greatest strength.
Yeah, if Michael were to slam, would you say he fills in the 2-mon, cuts the 3, draws the 8-pin, slams the 3-pin Ricci? I would definitely not be thinking the 8 so is the deal in tile. I would drop that in a heartbeat. Anipatsu turn if necessary.
Home.
Sakigiri is the 3-mon, perhaps looking for acceptance of the Dora 4-pin.
Yeah, I think it's not only that, but also just makes the 2-mon look really good as
Each.
well. Like, if you read this, would you be expecting a 2-5-mon wait?
So the only thing that stands out for me is the fact that 4-mon was Sumogiri, but then 3-mon was Tadashi,
Yeah.
and after 8-mon. So 8-mon is generally going to be the safer one. It was Genbutsu to the player on the left. So I'm thinking, after cutting 1-1-mon, why in the 3-mon in hand that late? So I'm still going to be cautious around the 2-5-mon, but definitely a little less cautious than usual.
Yeah, perhaps it would have been the rare situation where it's better to discard the 4-mon from hand
Each.
rather than Sumogiri.
Yeah, and then you do a roundman cut. And we have a chase over on the left. It's going to be a 5-pin Tuso Shampon for Reach Tanya Aldora 1.
3-6 pin rather. It's a pair
Oh,
of
I am
fours.
blind.
But
I
that
thought
pair
that
of
was another
fours is a
4
pair
pin.
of Dora.
Yes.
Jason incredibly quickly defending against these two Richis. Just dropping the Genbutsu tiles. Might have to make a decision here soon.
3-6 pin is unfortunately dead.
Well, that's just Tempai. Jason has folded into a Tempai, and we're going to take it. It's on a Fujita 9-pin, just because the 9-mon's a little bit safer, he thinks.
Long.
There's the 2-mon run. Reach Pinfu. No Ura, 2900.
And that'll be a shame for Dunn, who really thought he had the better hand there, but the early Rishi from Michael will pan out this time. And there we go. We're going to have numbers on the board after this game ends.
I do like Donald's username is Oyakodon. It's great both as a food pun and then also somewhat relates to Mahjong. You know, Oya, dealer.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
has your name. So that is a
Dealer,
very, very
non-dealer,
morbid
Don.
name for a dish.
I quite like that.
All right. Oh, early 6-0 cut over here. Thinks upgrades are good enough in the Manzo already, along with the 5-pin. I'm usually inclined to play a little bit more aggressively
Home.
with middle tiles, but you already have some overlap with the 3-4, so that's actually not a bad cut. Shun gets pawned as well. Everyone's off to the races.
Yeah, interestingly, though, Don has already discarded the Dora, so it's not going to be something that you'd expect to be super expensive.
Home.
No, yeah, unless it turns into a Sozu Honitsu, it's going to be around 1,000 points.
Yeah, even Sozu Honitsu here without another Yakuhai to back it up, and no Dora is just 3,900.
I love the play of Force over here. A better immediate efficiency is 7-mon, but you want to keep those upgrades around, especially with one of the 2-mon already out. This, however, I think is going to set you back a little bit, potentially.
Yeah, we saw it in the last hand as well. Michael with a lot of
Sumo.
some PPD type plays, discarding tiles ahead of when it's efficiently, normal to do so. But it didn't matter in this case, as Don finds the quick win.
And we go into East 2. Laura's the 6-pin. And Jason's hand... It's a little lackluster, but could be worse. You have the door acceptance. You have improvements around the 5-so. Nice Ryan contra over here. Could get the double East. And looking around the table... Seems like we have our fastest hand over to the right. Eric already Ishanten, looking for 5-mon, 2-so, 8-so.
Yeah, unfortunate number of pairs there for Eric's hand. I might consider even holding the 7-pin a little bit longer, just to be able to use the Dora a second time.
Yeah, and if you hold the 7-pin, you're also Ishanten from Chitoi.
Yep, that's also a great point.
Hell, even Chitoi Ryan Peiko, depending on how the hand ends up. If you had kept that 7-pin, you get to Tempai with the 6-pin or the 5-pin, you cut the 4-so.
Yeah, I can see it.
No. I think you would have to break Tempai, though,
yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, but it does seem fun. All right. 4-so drop here does keep the Ipeco alive at the cost of the lower Sozu efficiency. And while we've been doing all this talking, it looks like we have 4 pairs across the way as well. 2 Shanten from both a normal hand and a Chitoi for Don.
Also 4 pairs on the left for Michael, so a lot of pairs shared around the table.
So for Don's hand across the way, I actually would have loved to see something like a 4-so cut there, which keeps both the the decent efficiency and the Ipeco chance open with the double Dora
Eat.
acceptance.
Mm.
And there we go, 2-5 Mon. Wait for Eric over to the right. Richie Tanyao, Dora 1.
Yeah, if you had drawn the 5 mana Tempai, that's the route where we get the Pego. Any other draw, and almost certainly is going to take the wider
Boom.
weight to maximize the win chance. Don calls into a Tempai on 2, 5, 8, so, but so many of those tiles are held by Eric in that Ricci.
Yeah, it looked like
Sumo.
in that turn before dropping the 7-pin a second time, a 3-so was drawn to extend it to a Sanmenchun. But it is the Mangon that wins in the end, 2,000, 4,000 moving into East 3 and putting Eric at a 37,600 point lead in first. Dora is the 1 Mon, and it looks like there is a pair of them across the way in Michael's hand. Definitely strong material.
It's a terminal door like this.
Yeah, being able to use it is a premium, and that could very easily be a Richidora 2-hand Sumo when you get a Mangon. So you're going to fight a little bit here, especially since you know it's hard for other people to use the Dora as well.
Yeah, you could very easily see a player like Don on the right ending up on a 2-mon Conchan just because you want to read that door a little bit. There is also a very clear route to a Tanyo type hand as well, should you extend one more shape in the Sozu or around the 7-pin. And so maybe in the future he sacrifices this Dora.
Yeah, in particular, if you get the 6-pin, you also see the chance at a 6-7-8 Sanshoku, and the path to it is a little bit rough, but it could happen.
I guess the Sozu extension as well, so we'll just hold the current shapes in the hand and stick with the Dora plan as it stands right now. Or have you considered 7 pairs?
7 pairs Dora 2 is tempting.
Well, offers, Don does not decline. Leaves that as an available option.
Jason over on the left has made some great draws, improved the shapes a lot. Is now 2 Shanten.
Ooh,
Another fantastic draw.
Yes. Too many pairs in the hand, so sacrifices the one that loses Tanyo. And doesn't float all the shapes with a 5, so it says, my 5 blocks are good enough, I don't need to play 6.
Yeah, the only potential benefit I could see to cutting the 5-so there is if you're really worried about the danger of the 5-so in a few turns, but it's not like the 1-pin is guaranteed to pass anyone either.
Interestingly here, not accepting the extra acceptance that the 9-mon provides, and just holds the safe tile. We're at the point in the hand where he likes the Tanyo and the shapes as they stand.
I think also if you're looking at Michael's hand and you interpret it as a Manzu heavy hand, that 9-mon doesn't look fantastic to hold around, even though it's a dealer Genbutsu and Suji to Don.
Yeah, that's an interesting phrasing that you use. Manzu heavy hand, not necessarily a Manzu flush, because you can see those early honor cuts, but certainly it would indicate, like these discards indicate, that there are a large number of Mon tiles in the hand, which could lead to a Mon weight like the 9-mon. So that's a very good point. Even if it's not a flush, those tiles still can be dangerous in the future, and you might want to get rid of them ahead of time.
Yeah, you do come across cases where people shift to Honitsu afterwards, but in this case, if it did happen,
Gee.
it was a very late shift that required multiple blocks to be dropped. So
Speaking about late
there we
shifts,
go.
Don did find a route to even Suanko was possible, but does get the call for a Tempai, Tanya only.
It's a 2-5, so wait, you're still gonna have 3 left in the wall. Not bad, especially this late.
On this slate, you expect a call after cutting a 1-3 Mondora shape. You expect that one call to be a call into Tempai, but you're also assuming that it's just for the 1,000 points. Maybe an outside chance at Sancho for an extra 100, but no more than 2,000 points.
Yeah, the only worry that I could possibly get from that is if they somehow lucked into a Sozu Chinitsu, but it seems pretty unlikely. Regardless, it's getting other people to react. With only 4 draws left, this might be a 2 players Tempai.
Sumo.
That last draw definitely helped, but there we go with the Sumo 300, 500 to end the round. And we go into East 4.
Yeah, that's another one of those opportunities. We talked about this earlier where you could just decline the Tsumo and say, I'm getting more points at Yukioku with only 1 draw remaining.
I'm not a huge fan of that, just because if the dealer is Tempai, then, you know, we missed the chance to bop them and move things along. But there are definitely some cases where that can be valuable.
Another scenario is when there's sticks in the middle, you probably want to collect those sticks and make sure nobody else gets them.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're a watcher of End League, you know, those sticks are 1,500 points each, and no one will ever do anything like that.
Oh, speaking about End League, there was a very, very funny hand that occurred earlier in the season. I believe it was an A1 match that had 6 Ricci sticks and 7 Homba.
Oh boy.
And the hand that won was a Mongon, a dealer Mongon for 12,000 points. It ended up becoming like a 20,100 point victory. And we were just thinking, imagine what that would be in End League with the 1,500 points per. 10,500 points in Homba alone.
Yeah, we did have a game the previous session that ended up with 5 or 6 Homba, and it was very, very disgusting. Oh, speaking of disgusting, this Honitsu over to the left started with a ton of Pinzu in hand and an Anko of the East, and it's steadily progressing now. Very, very well disguised with that 1-pin, 9-pin drop. I don't know exactly what happened for that to occur, but here we are, San Minchan, and 2 Tonkis possible. Green red, you just have to avoid the Furiton on the 369.
You could totally see this 9-pin coming out of Jason's hand because it's safe. And then seeing Eric call that back to Tempai.
Like, wait a second. I really don't think you can read this hand very well.
No, it's just Tempai already.
That is sometimes the miracle of efficiency errors. It actually ends up helping you win the hand.
Yeah, I just want to point out this read from Eric. Had the choice of honor to take the green dragon or the red dragon. He cut the green because he couldn't see any, because they had not been discarded. And he was right. It was tripled up in Jason's hand, and chose to wait on the tile that had come out already because, well, no one called it, so they probably don't have it.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Let's say you're considering a Ricci between a live honor and a twice cut honor, which is a hellweight. The win rate is actually very, very similar up until towards the end of row 2, if I'm remembering correctly. So I don't hate that move whatsoever. And the general, like, proverb is that, well, I wouldn't even call it a proverb, to be honest, but is that, you know, once cut honors are more live in the wall than none cut honors when you go into row 2. And that's statistically proven.
Yeah, and even if it isn't, even if someone managed to pair up that once cut honor in the meantime, if you slam a Ricci and they have to start to fold, what's going to look safe to them other than that once cut honor that they have a pair of? It only deals into a Tonki weight, and what are the odds that you're waiting on that tile, right? Unfortunately, it's a little too frequent for my liking.
Well, Michael over here gets Tempai. So once cut 9-pin and a North Shabo goes for it.
Yeah, there are some considerations to wait for the Dora upgrade and Pifu as well, but this, as dealer with a strong weight like this, I think it's...
Oh, scary.
Of course. Must be thinking I should have waited one turn.
I think because you're waiting with the North, this is fine, but if it was any other tile, I might have considered, you know, swapping around my weight.
Yeah,
or rather, I should say, if it was any other less tricky.
Mhm.
tile.
This is a very natural thing to do. Pile on the pressure as the dealer. And it's just funny to see the
Sumo.
punishment come. And also, Don with a Ricci +1 gets the Kanchan Sumo.
Yeah, as we could see, I think there was only one or two of those left in the wall, but ripped it right out. Bring us to South 2. And now Don is within 10,000 points of Eric. So we could see a comeback. Dora is the Hatsu. It isn't paired up in anyone's hand, but what is paired up is the West and the Chun. West gets pawned. This is looking like a Honitsu Yakuhai. Bless you.
Oh, and it comes out early. No greed on the side of Eric. Probably content to hold the shapes as they are, or rather, the value as it is with the lead.
Yeah, this is almost more a call for speed than a call to force big value, which is something you see quite often in Sadma. You don't really, contrary to popular belief, you don't really want to be forcing Honitsu all the time in Sanma. You do it because it makes it faster to call the hand into Tenpai.
Oh, that's a great draw into Tenpai. Finds the Kanchan fail now with a good weight, 5/8 so. And, as a player defending against this, you see the Dora cut followed
Yeet.
by a Sozu cut, rather, and you assume that's a Tenpai.
We have a chase over on the left. Michael goes for the 9-pin Tanki
Oh!
Chitoi and is going to get the Ipatsu.
Dong.
Oh, that's incredible. Ipatsu mechanic is strong, even on Tenho. And the Uratsu for the Hanuman. And that's going to exchange places. Oh, everything switches. Jason up into first. Eric takes a slight third, slightly below 30k third.
And all of a sudden, Michael is not only looking at a first place, but the chance to bump everyone below 30k.
Yeah, that's a huge swing. And a gutsy play to read what should be a Honitsu Tenpai and fight against it. Now, one of the benefits that Michael saw was the doors out, so it is probably just Honitsu with one Yakuhai, because the West was not Eric's wind. So possibly 3,900 to 5,200, unless there's like a surprise Itsu, but it really wait, it can't be Itsu because we have the two honor calls. So yeah, just 39 to 5,200. He said, you know what, my hand is good enough to fight against that 6,400. Let's go.
And
well,
Eric was
32,
Ishanten.
Chances at Uda.
Eric was Ishanten over here. Cut the Penchan to keep the better, more improvable shapes. Unfortunately, it immediately backfires with that 7-pin draw, but is still Ishanten. Chances to improve to Pinfu, possible Ipeiko in the Sozu. We'll see what happens. There is a North Anko over to the right, which is interesting. I don't know if we'll see a shift towards Honitsu, but another backfire, it seems, on the 789 pin.
Yeah, 789 pin not favoring anybody this hand.
Now a backfire on that 6-pin for Michael across the way. Well, not really a huge backfire, only if you want to force the Pinfu, but, you do get the extra Dora, so. Actually moves backwards from Tenpai.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to cut this Dora ever, so he's trying to find a path to be able to use it, and that really means to end up on a 5/8 diamond weight or sort of 5-pin something else Shabo, and that's why he's cutting away from this extra pair. It's supporting.
I worry about this though, because you're in first place, so your priority is usually just to move things along, and going backwards like this might give the dealer the opportunity to catch up and take the win.
Yeah, great, illustration that sometimes it's just better to cut the Dora.
I think there's oh wow.
Ooh. Don fixes the Fuditen issue and says this is going to be Honitsu. Maybe sensing that Eric is going to try to shut this down.
Great draw of the 5-pin. It's Tenpai 3/6 pin for Honitsu Chun Dora 1. Funnily enough, the 3/4 would have been Furiten as well.
You're right. So it's not even that big of a sacrifice to cut away the the 3-4 and go for the greed because you don't want to end up with this 50-10 Jiamen.
And now Michael's worry has kind of manifested itself.
Dong.
But it is the cheap Tanyao only that's going to take the win here. Give Eric a repeat.
Edges out Don for second place temporarily. That is somewhat important in South 3, these small placement differences. Because in South 4, the game could end very quickly. It is an advantage to be ahead, even if it's a small lead.
Where is the 9? So we just saw one picked up by Don over on the right, but it's going to be a
Boom.
little bit difficult to use. Possibly could be a Tonki, though, and Toy Toy. As long as Don is willing to give up that 5-6, so.
Yeah, Honro, once again.
Honro, Toy Toy, Sanshoku, Dora 3.
Oh, I love it. I'm envisioning 9 Mon, cut 6 Mon, or the Haku. Draw 9 so, and then you're just committed.
Yeah. Great draw of a 3 so over here. And that 6 so isn't the 9 so, but it is a move towards Toy Toy.
And with the double south for Dawn, that is a straight path to Mongon. Toy Toy, double south, or home. Don't even need to use the Dora, so perfectly acceptable to toss it away with that plan in mind.
Boom.
Another pawn. 2 pawns left and right. We're probably going to see Eric, sorry, not Eric. We're going to see Jason break away from this Kanchan to go for the Honitsu, unless the 8 so fills soon.
There's the Dora
there's
pair
the
up.
9 so. Now this could get nasty. We see a potential Hanuman.
Even if the 9 so doesn't get called, hidden in hand, Toy Toy double south Dora 2 still is Hanuman value.
We see the Chi here. No, pass. Not willing to cut that Dora. And Michael triples up that West Yakuhai. Now 2 Shanten with callable shapes.
Another interesting spot for Michael. Goes ahead and cuts the 1.
Boom.
And presumably the 8 in the near future.
Oh, would we see the pawn of the Dora? Tempai's around the table.
Oh, that prevented
Somehow,
Michael
the
from
5-8's
dealing in. He started to fold away, but Jason finds the last 5 Mon on the wall to end of the threat.
Yeah, I was almost wondering in Jason's position if I'd rather cut the 8 Mon and Dora Tonki given my score standing, but in this case it ends up saving him. And we go into all last. Don is the dealer, 29-7. Jason is not far behind, though, at 25-7, just a 4,000 point difference, so 1,000, 2,000 will do it, and this is the path towards that Honitsu Yakuhai.
Jason has the path. Can he convert, though? Door pair on the left for Eric. Also, an opportunity for him to work his way back into the lead. Cheetoy possible.
Also, to address Ember in the chat, not taking the Toy Toy is interesting. That's true. Taking the Toy Toy would get you to Hanuman, but with Dora 3 from the 9, so I think priority was given to the Mangan good weight, given how close the standings were.
Eric finds the triplet, so now we're back in normal hand territory. 1 away from Tempai. Also 1 away from 7 pairs still, so probably cut the green dragon off and then make our decision later.
With Dora 2, that would be the game winner.
If you draw 4, so would you Dama?
100%.
Right now, Sozu seems pretty expensive on the board. Expensive in the sense that not many people are cutting it.
Yeah. Cutting 4, so, on top of increasing the win rate, just in general, it also increases the chance that you direct hit Michael and put everyone below 30k. Because it would be a 5,200 point hand.
Insta call from Jason now, 1 away from Tempai.
Each.
Don waited a turn, and now with 2 players open, will slam.
It is a 3 so Kanchan, 1 left in the wall.
Meanwhile,
Ooh.
Michael with a 3 so 6 so wait. Will not deal in here.
And Eric is going to backtrack from a normal hand. Possibly play around this for a Cheetoy.
Yeah, this is very normal from Eric. He is always has a defensive posture in mind, and the last thing he wants is to deal into Don here with a dealer Ricci. Even if Don doesn't have the Dora, it still could be really expensive with Uda. Michael still fighting here, 3-6 soda to end the game in first.
So
Still,
even across the way, Jason is being hesitant about this 9-pin. If you don't notice that this is a Sumo Kyoichi, the 9-pin looks awful because it looks like the 8-pin was the last Tadashi.
Jason still, if he gets Tenpai, I think he'll. Oh, the West, the Dora comes out. It's
I think
Genbutsu, and Eric doesn't have a reason to call it because, 7 pairs. And that's the draw to Tenpai, so Jason will jam the 9 now, waiting on the Vorso.
Jason is looking for a Sumo here or a direct hit. Because this is not Mangan, 39. Actually, it would be enough
The
even
Vorso.
without direct because of the Ricci stick. But you take it.
Yeah, this will be enough to go over 30k
No.
and into second.
Okay, just did some mental math there, and yep, 39 is more than enough. In fact, that will put you over 30k. Fantastic win at the last second. Oh, second place, yep.
Incredible from Jason. Plus 5.6 out of a dire last place. And it is Michael taking the win home, 19.4 points to the good. Eric stays positive. We've seen this basically every single game so far, from the A2 divisions to coming to this B1 division. The player who is just on the cusp of 30,000 points manages to stay above by nature of somebody else dealing into the game-ending hand. And so good defensive posture there from Eric to confirm the positive finish. Don made a go at first place, but ends up dropping to fourth, minus 25.2 for him. Respectable fourth, though. 24.8 fourth is totally acceptable.
Yeah, exciting turnaround of events there with that Ipatsuchi toy. Really shook things up, and Michael, after a Yakitori game, takes a first. Do we know if they are going to play another game?
I have not seen a notification of another game coming through for this table. Given that they're on an even number, it is possible. A lot of tables like to split 2 and 2. It was very likely to have been their last game. The time being, we could take a peek at the B1 standings. Nathan B. Whoa, that's a big win average. After 2 games, averaging 10,000 points per hand.
Wow. And a 25% win rate, not shabby at all. On top of that, the deal-in rate is also pretty low, 11%, and way below average on the dealing value of 3,600. It looks like the call rate is very low, so another very Ricci-heavy player that keeps closed.
Yeah,
That would explain the low deal-in rate.
asterisk
And the
on
high.
2 games worth of statistics, but definitely historically speaking, Nathan is definitely a closed style player who wants to aim for the Ricci. And it's very funny because the name they use in game is Ichihime.
Ah, there you
the
go.
Polecat, but it does not have the Polecat playstyle. Plays in a closed way. But Eric from the table we just saw after 2 games on 2 different tables is in second place, plus 49.6. And Jason with that nice second place finish increases a little bit higher in the positives. Alrighty, well, I'm going to check the calendar to see what is upcoming. Eric, if there are more games, are you able to cast them?
I could probably do one more.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure that we have a game starting anytime soon, but there are a couple games going in progress. Maybe we can finish one of the games that is already in progress. And we have a couple choices in the C leagues. How about this one? I saw Ham Ham in chat earlier, so now I kind of want to watch them play. It started about 15 minutes ago, so it's very likely they're in the end of the East rounds. East 4, it looks like. And let's hop over to Miss Fern. I'll go ahead and put this up on the screen for us all to see. Apologies for the lag that's about to happen as I input some of these names.
Looks like we're in East 4. Mr. Friend is the dealer, and Dora's 7 mon. Already Ishan 10 over here. Interesting choice now. Do we keep the 6-0 to extend the Sozo into a possible Itsu? Or do we just cut the 6 mon, give up on Dora acceptance? Looks like it's a 2-pin cut hedging all the options. We have potential shifts to a Sanshoku or an Itsu, as well as the Dora acceptance. Looking over to the right, it looks like we have a hand that can go towards Tanya. A little bit of a jump there. Across the way, another 6-7-8 Sanshoku potential. Could pick up another Dora even. And then over on the left, it looks like Hibi has some pretty decent shapes in Monzu. Struggling a little bit in the upper Pinzu though, but that 5-7-9 pin shape is not all that bad. Keeping the 8 mon for now for Dora acceptance. And here we go, Headless Ishan 10 for Mistfern. Looking preferably to draw the 7 mon into Tenpai.
It's like Ty's gotten off to a great start here. Plus, in the positives, 41,400.
1
There we go.
What's very funny to me as Miss Fern takes this Dealer Ricci, waiting on the Dora. I was looking at the standings to see how everyone was doing. Josh at plus 7.2. I said negative 26.6. And Ty at 0 after having played a game, which means he must have finished in third place at exactly 30,000 points for a plus 0 score.
How is Steven at 0 after getting a first place?
That is a great question. Given that this is a C1 division, it's possible that somebody who is scheduled to play had to back out at the last second, and Steven is the replacement player, but didn't get added into the totals yet. Oh no, I guess just the game hasn't been added for some reason. That's a great call out, and might be something on the back end that we can fix. Glad that we covered this game so that we can bring it to the attention of the admins.
In fact, there's quite a few people that have 0 points in multiple games.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Anyhow, looks like 7 mon is dead for now, so the Dealer Ricci is a non-threat unless someone decides to drop the Dora.
Oh, but this is getting close to Tenpai for Ty. Will he fight? No, we'll play the safe 9 pin. With 3 Dora, there's certainly some incentive to want to play a little more aggressively.
I agree. I think I would have just jammed the 6-0 Nakasuji there. It doesn't even look that dangerous.
The 3 So Suji on one side, the 9 So Suji on the other, right in the middle, the Naka tile. A lot of times safe. It only deals into the 5-7 Kanchan shape middleweight, or the like the 6 So Tonki, which seems rare, or the 6 So Sham pong weight, which is less rare, but if you're expecting a good weight, then certainly you can a double-sided weight. You can trust the 6-0 to pass.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about the 6-0 being a shampoo because the 7-0 was cut.
Oh yeah, that's right. Unless it was some type of toy Suwako chance, it really doesn't make sense for them to have put the 7 weight on that.
If the 7-0 was the Ricci tile, then I'd be a little bit more cautious because there's chances that, like you said, toy Sananko or you're going for the Yakuhai Shampon, which has a similar win rate.
But usually you don't like preemptively cut the 7-so
No,
to aim for that.
not usually.
홈,
Quick pawn across the way. That's going to be Ishan-ten for Matthias.
홈,
And that's going to be Tenpai 6-9. So for Haku only, 1,000 is 1,300, but would pick up the Ricci stick as well.
Ooh, does Josh greed here?
Yours north. If you're afraid of north dealing into the player across from you, then you might greed.
Start
Sumo.
Oh, it doesn't matter if I did sumo.
400, 600 with the repeat. And we go into south 1. Dora's the 1 pin. One of those in the dealer's starting hand. Fortunately, Tai's going to have a little bit of difficulty using it unless it pairs up. The hand overall is not too awe-inspiring. I mean, if you look over to the right, there's already an Ishan-ten that has to choose between 2 Kanchans.
Yeah, probably thinking about the chance to move towards 678 Sanchoku.
홈,
One path to get there is to pair up something like the 6-mon, the 2-so, or the 5-so, and then you get to use the 7-8 as a diamond shape, waiting on the 6 and the 9. So, hopefully the 6.
Across
Another
the way, we saw a south.
지,
I was going to add one more thing. If you draw the 9-mon instead, then you can think about 789 Sanchoku instead.
Yeah, that's right. There is a nice shift there where you can drop the 2-5-so afterwards. Well, across the way, we see a Chi. Doesn't advance the hand directly, gets rid of the pair, actually. But it does widen the acceptance temporarily.
리치,
After drawing the 1-so, Matthias did move in the direction of just taking the Ricci Pinfu and found the Tenpai immediately. So, slamming Ricci Pinfu, waiting 3-so, 6-so. 4
Left in the
tiles.
wall.
홈,
Yeah. Not...
And then right after the Ricci, we have a 5-pin pair up across the way, leaving Ishan-ten for Stefan. And now, Tenpai. Oh, we take the 1-4-pin. Wait, the Dora just passed.
Oh, and Tai might jam it out. Because it just passed. Starts
two-
with 4-mon.
Yeah, the 2-pin Tadashi is really suspicious that late.
스모,
If you get the discard order wrong, you might think, oh, it's Sushi to the 5-pin, but that came out after. But there we go. 500,000 picking up the Ricci stick.
And Josh will steal away the win. Will move over to dealership of Matthias. In South 2?
Oh, Chitoi Ishan-ten.
It's not bad.
Over
but...
on the right, 3 pairs.
How long do
It's,
you expect this Chitoi Ishanten to hit Tenpai?
Oh, give it another like 10 turns.
That sounds about right.
Over on the left, we already have Ishan-ten as well. Was Ishan-ten... Oh, sorry, 2 Shan-ten. I must have misread that earlier. And Dora is nowhere to be seen, so you can be certain that this Chitoi is going to try and Tanki on it.
Now, some players would look at this 5 pairs and say, I have all the blocks I need for Toy Toy. What are your thoughts on calling for Toy Toy from this position?
So in this position, I'm always thinking about 2 things. One, is there something more than Toy like Yakuhai? If so, then I'm more willing to open it. The second is the quality of the pairs. 6-so, 5-mon, you don't expect to be able to pawn those easily. So if I'm going to open this up for Toy and I don't have any other value, I want to start with one of those 2 pairs. And even then, at Ishan-ten, I'm going to be very hesitant to do so. Now with this 2-pin draw, I'm very, very ready to take the pawns if they come.
홈,
Still, you'd prefer finding one of the middle tiles to call first. But it's a
Yeah.
lot easier to get there now that you've completed one of the triplets already. And the nice thing about holding this triplet is you still can go back to pairs. If you draw the 1 pin or the east, you are Tenpai for the pairs. And yeah, there it is, the middle tile. And Matthias will open up here. Now the 9-so has already come out once, but I imagine he thinks the 8-pin is not so bad, given the 9-so has come out on the right. In fact, it comes out across the table for the Tenpai.
So 9-so, 5-mon. 3 tiles left in the wall. Not too shabby for a Shampon.
Ooh. I think
Or
you're gonna cut one of the sequences, 3, 4, 7, 8.
I think so. The threat of Toy Toy across the way is too high to be tossing the Dora willy-nilly here. And you don't even have a Yaku anyway, so...
Outside of course, the south. So we're gonna rely
Oh yeah,
on...
we're not starting in East. That's my bad.
Yeah, we started this one a little bit late, but yeah, it's gonna rely on the, well, flush now? Do we go towards the 50-10 shape? No.
I think given the standings, just wants to win this faster.
Yeah, the 6-0's already been called, your 50-10 on the 9-so, so a little bit harder to get that direction. Now, if we draw towards the flush on the lower side, I suspect Miss Fern might make that play. Oh, but the 9-so
Dong.
can't fit into a Tamil hand, and that's going to deal to the Toy Toy for 3,900. And this is where, if you had even just one Yakuhai to buff the value of the hand, that turns into 7,700 instead, and you're looking at a really, really big hand, almost Mongon level for the non-dealer.
Yeah, and that's why it's so much more important to have that one extra Han when you open up for Toy Toy, because otherwise, especially as non-dealer, you're not fighting for very much. Your Richichi toy is going to be worth 3,200, which is more, and speed will be comparable if your pairs aren't too easy to call.
Yeah, and as you find yourself calling multiple times for the Toy Toy, you end up in a position where it's very hard to fold if someone declares a Richi, and so you're almost forced to just fight with, as you said, somewhat limited value. Now, in this case, it seemed somewhat justifiable to make this play, and it ended up paying off for the dealer for 3,900 points. But always good to consider if that's the spot you want to find yourself in when you're, deciding whether to make that to go down that path or not.
Yeah. Well, over here, Dora's the east. There's a pair over on the left. I think we're already 2 Shanten on the left could be a potential reach pin for Dora too.
Spot for Josh across the table where he's deciding if he wants to go for the flush or not, and is hedging both possibilities. Starts with the once cut red dragon. We'll determine that later. Still holding out. Some players might cut the 4-mon, 3-mon, and just say, I'm going to call the West and end up on, like a Chuntanki. But we've seen in these positions this game, when he has the chance for a really greedy route or a more stable route, he tends to choose the stability here.
Yeah, there's still some, natural draws. If you get the 6-pin, you drop the 3-4-mon, and then you have a potential Itsu. So you don't necessarily have to drop the 3-4-mon right away.
Yeah, 6-pin, 5-pin, even the 4-pin, you could consider that 2, 3, 4, 5 shape to be strong enough to just cut the 4-mon, 3-mon.
Yeah, depending on the turn and how it looks on the table, I might do that. So if we chi here, do we drop? No, we take the Tenpai. Makes sense.
So south only for Josh, waiting 2-mon, 5-mon. A number of those tiles are being held by play to our right. And that means that we've got 3 tiles remaining in the wall.
It's so sad that the 4-pin was drawn right afterwards.
Yes. I mean, again, you could chi that and cut the 4-mon, 3-mon, saying, I have 5 different tiles that I can connect to this 5-pin.
Heck, you could even pawn the West into Tenpai and a 5-pin Tonki and then swap to something else.
Yeah, six different tiles that you can call for the mega value. So it's definitely a consideration for sure. Now, if you are Josh here and the West comes out, do you call that and swap to a Tonki anyway, saying, I can then switch that Tonki into Honitsu?
I would imagine that's not going to happen based on the previous moves, but yeah, the 1,000 gets taken. Since Josh has a dealership left... Oh wow, okay, I did not see that double run.
I did not notice that Tai had gotten to Tenpai for the Pinshu and chosen to Dama at that point, and ends up sniping an extra 3,900 out of this, so in a really strong position here, going into South 3.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that, Josh still has a dealership left, so winning a big hand now isn't super duper important to catch up to first, but it does a great deal in making that gap manageable. So I would have liked to chase more value there than just the south. But, getting into row two, it's acceptable to take the Rian.
Speaking about value, we've got a triplet of the north wind on the left for the north player. That's always helpful to have that concealed. You don't have to open your hand for just one Han. Now you can reachy and get the extra foo, and maybe even use this Force Odora for some big value. Similarly on the right, Josh with the triplet of the red dragon already went away from Tempai. Ishandam.
Potential Sun Anko as well. And okay, five mon draw is not bad at all here.
Insta
Ishan 10. Oh, that's a lot of foo right there. 32 foo bumps the hand up by almost one Han automatically. So you see those cons very often.
Boom.
And we'll call straight into Tempai Yakuhai. Only currently no extra door in the hand, but as you said, that is plus 32 foo. So from open hand, that starts at 20, goes all the way up to 60 foo.
This is effectively a 2 Han 30 foo hand. And you can draw the door into Tempai, which improves the weight and value to 3,900.
That is great.
So far, nothing though.
As Tai gets closer to Tempai, more and more likely to cut this 5 so.
Sumo.
Instead, Sumo instead from Josh, and the 160 will come to fruition.
Quite a rare score.
Yeah, usually, like with the con, you flip yourself a Dora, but so many triplets in hand, it was harder to actually hit the Dora. Fewer unique tiles to hit.
And we have a very, very close score gap between first and second over here. We have someone across the way that can go over 30k, and last place is not out of it yet. They need to get a direct hit Mongon to tie, I believe.
Yeah, the problem...
As in, to tie positions, not the player.
Oh, I see. I was going to say, Tai, the player, has an insane 3 Yonenke shape. Ishan has to, like, pick which one he wants to keep. I might cut the 9 pin just to be able to use the 5 pin should we draw it. But outside of that, this is a great position to be in. That's a Tempai. It's not what I want to take, though. I'd actually just throw the 9 back, personally.
Yeah, I think it's early enough that you could do that.
Especially because we can just call the tune and have a good Tempai. I mean, we could do that as well, even if we had taken the Tempai, but...
Yeah. It's a tough call because you can potentially just end the game immediately, but...
The thing is, I don't really want to reachy and lock myself into that shape, and so if I'm going to Dama, I'm just waiting for the Tsumo of the 8-mon. I feel like I'd rather just have the extra acceptance elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. After the 2-mon drop, more difficult, I'd say, because there's a lot of Furitan possibilities now around the Manzu. So at that point, I think there's some merit to dropping the 2-so into Tempai and then just pointing the tune and taking the Nobiton for 7-mon weight. But, maybe this problem gets taken care of by the Richi Pinfu 258-so weight away.
This is Tempai Furitan 3-sided, and I will dance around it.
Yeah, would have dealt an Ipatsu, could have been devastating.
Yeah, and this is a spot where we're feeling a little punished for not cutting the 9 pin. We could call into Tanyao Tempai now and be able to win off of any player, but it's also okay to fold here. We are in a position where it's very hard for that player to overtake, so Tai can just play safety, and
Tsumo.
There's the Tsumo. Ura misses, and I think that's going to be just short of overtaking.
It is enough to bring them over 30k, though.
Yeah, that is an excellent result. And Matthias will claim a plus 1.3. We've had a lot of 3-player over in the positives games. This time it took an all-last Tsumo in order for Matthias to get there, but he does with a plus 1.3. Josh will take the plus 10.1 second place, and Ty plus 26.7. Will that update into the standings? It looks like the standings have been updated. Thank you, admin, for pulling that through. It looks like that third place, by the way, for Ty was not a plus 0.0, but very close to it with a plus 0.9.
So another positive third. Very similar to what happened here with Matthias.
Very good. So they are 2 games into the books. And I believe they will probably be finishing for the night. And I suspect so will we. We had a nice set of games in A2. We hopped into a B3 series, caught one of those games, and a B1, and that also caught the tail end of the C1 game. So for our first set of broadcast games this season, we went all around the league and
We
saw some
saw
very nice
saw
games.
everything too.
Yeah.
We had players go from plus 50 to negative. We saw players go from Yakitori to winning first places. We saw a Shosangyan and lots and lots of other exciting hands along the way. So I could not have asked for more from my first stream back in 2025.
Welcome back to you, Eric. Best of luck in your Edley commentary. That's going to be happening soon.
Thank you. Yeah, tune in to us next Friday if you're interested. We're on hiatus for this Friday, but we'll be back in fashion next week at our new location. See how it goes.
Yeah, where can people tune into that?
I believe you can go to our YouTube channel, which is Richi no Mi.
Very good.
You can find that on our server, website, or just by looking at us up.
And in terms of future Artmal commentary, we will definitely have more throughout the season. Our regular Wednesday broadcast series will be getting back on schedule. We should have a Wednesday broadcast every week until the end of the season. And if I know it's early in the season, so some new folks are joining in. If you're one of those players that has volunteered to participate in the commentary broadcast team, welcome, and look forward to doing some good work with you in the future. And if you're one of the new players who's joined the league, it's also awesome. Welcome to the league, and we hope you enjoy your stay as you climb the ladder of the divisions. For the American Ricci socials, you can check us out at American Ricci's everywhere, including YouTube. This broadcast will be up there soon, and all the broadcasts from the past season are also up. The most recent broadcast that we had was the post-season show, as well as preseason show for this upcoming winter session. So you can check that out. It's up on our YouTube channel right now. And for players who are interested in getting involved in the league, AmericanRicci.org is the place to go. You can check out the standings. You can register for the next season. You can even sign up and act as a substitute for this season if you want to dip your toes into the Arma waters. So definitely check it out. Thanks again to Eric for hopping on the commentary. And thanks to all the viewers who tuned in for our first games of the season. Hope to see you for many more in the future. Night all.